Good afternoon. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Matthew Alvarez. There's a lot to get to today, of course, there at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And of course, there are a ton of stories happening nationally and internationally that we'll go over. So there's a full slate of stories. Usually on a Monday, there might be one or two things to really cover. Still important, but of course, as you guys know, there's a lot going on. So at 3 o'clock today, we know that the president will participate in a Mexican border defense medal presentation. That will be at the Oval Office. As many of you know, this is a fallen world in need of a savior, because as we look at these news headlines from coast to coast to around the world, not an easy day to just report on all of what we're about to talk about, but these are the top headlines that we're looking at. Of course, we know that the images from the radical Islamic terrorist attack against Jews at a Hanukkah holiday celebration in Australia, where at least 15 people were gunned down there. Also in Syria, 2 U.S. servicemen and a U.S. interpreter were killed by ISIS. The Iowa National Guard named the 2 cavalry troopers killed in Syria on December 13th as Sergeant William Howard and Sergeant Edgar Terestevar. President Trump saying there will be retaliation against ISIS. In some developing news that I saw on X via Election Wizard, the FBI says 5 members of pro-Palestinian group have been arrested in Los Angeles and New Orleans for plotting bomb attacks on 2026 New Year's Eve. Also, over the weekend, 2 Brown University students in Providence, Rhode Island were killed by a shooter, including 19-year-old Ella Cook, who is a conservative, a believer in Jesus. She was a vice president of the Republican Club at the university. She was reportedly targeted in the shooting. That gunman in Providence, Rhode Island, is still on the loose. Last night, actor-director Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle were found dead in their LA home after being stabbed to death. The suspect at this time, according to authorities, is Nick Reiner, the son of the family. Over the weekend in Savannah, Georgia, a woman is recovering from severe burns after a man allegedly poured acid on her while walking at a park after a church service. In New York City, a tourist from California was changing her baby in a bathroom at the Macy's in Herald Square when she was stabbed by a crazed homeless woman. We're also awaiting any more details out of Colorado for the release of Patriot Tina Peters. And we also have an update on West Virginia National Guardsman Andrew Wolf. He's making great progress, so we have to keep him in our prayers. In other news, podcaster Candace Owens will be having a private conversation with the CEO of tvOS, Erica Kirk, for those of you that have been following that story closely online. That is a time there, what we just talked about. If you're just joining us now, we're going over all the top headlines in this 24/7 news cycle that is one of the most tragic that I've seen. Of course, there have been big events, but usually it's that big event and then you cover that story. This time, in the past 24, 48, 72 hours and into last week, it seems like all hell has been unleashed across this country and in other places across the world. So what we're doing here, of course, is we're covering the headlines just in case you may have heard about, 5 of those stories, but there's, 8 or 9 of them, which is unbelievable by news standards to cover that many national and international stories that are of breaking news element or developing news that have to do with the amount of death and destruction. So that's why when I started the broadcast today, I was saying that this is a fallen world, as you know, in need of a savior, because all of that out there is absolute sin against what God would want, against what any good-hearted person across this earth would ever want to hear about. So we're going to go over some of those headlines in just a bit. Of course, there's some lighter things that we can talk about today, but when there's that many stories that are happening across this country and across the world, it's something that we have to share with you because that's part of what we do. But also, again, maybe to bring some context to specifically what happened in each of these stories. It's a tall order, to be honest with you, because there's so many specifics for each of the stories. but at least the headlines you can get here at Right Side at this point. On top of that, let's shift gears. We're going to shift gears to something that happened over the weekend. Before we get to some more political news, there's a lot of stories we're tracking there. Of course, there's a lot. Again, that's just the breaking news and the developing news that we just covered. So we'll get into the political aspect of things in just a second. We do know that over the weekend, the National Wreaths Across America event took place. It happened on Saturday, where 2 million volunteers and supporters gathered to remember and honor veterans at more than 5,200 participating locations in all 50 states, at sea and abroad. It's a real grassroots effort to say thank you to our veterans as people placed Christmas wreaths at veterans' tombstones. I was there on Saturday in Alabama, and this is the video that I got from this event.
So to be able to do this in communities across America, all pretty much at the same time, I think it's an awesome testimony to the American spirit and the fact that we don't take for granted the freedoms that we do have.
Randall
J. Hudson.
Thank you for your service.
Merry Christmas, Randy.
Major James E. McLaughlin, United States Air Force. Thank you for your service. Kenny, so they know veteran is here.
Let's just stop right here. Clayton Lee Wallace, my second son, uncle to the young man right here. Merry Christmas. We miss you. And I understand the reasons why you're here. And all we can say is, we love you. And with that, we have a wreath for you. Clay, here is your wreath. We've decorated a little bit, put some flags and markers in there. Clay, thank you, sir.
We took an oath, and that's why we do what we do. And the more people that take that oath and stand up for what they believe and what they were taught to believe, the better off this country's going to be. Because we don't want to go by the wayside like some of these other people.
It's for freedom. It's for acknowledging that, they say every veteran signed a blank check with their lives, to serve the American people. So it's honoring those who have, and for us, having a very close friend and a classmate, so someone our age here, and it's a way because it's local, and we have had veterans in our families, and we can't always get to their grave sites. So it's I think it's a way to say thank you to all of them.
Wreaths across America, wreaths across America. So in all 50 states, at sea and abroad, 2 million supporters, volunteers laying Christmas wreaths at veterans' tombs. That happened here in Alabama on Saturday as well. Locations, again, all across the country. very tough story to cover. That's not really just a story. This is real life, right? It's not just, hey, we're just doing this for TV purposes. I was there. I wanted to honor and respect our fallen soldiers. And the way we are here at the network. We love God, family, country, and freedom. And we are thankful for our National Guard, who just celebrated the birthday the other day as well. And we're going to go back into some of the top news stories that we're tracking nationally and internationally. As you guys know, a lot going on out there, but we will be going over those in just a minute. We'll also go over some of the political news that we're seeing. And then on top of that, we'll have an interview a little bit later in the broadcast. At about 2 o'clock, RSBN host Robert McNeely will be here in Studio B to carry coverage into the 3 p.m. event with President Trump, of course, at the White House. That is as the president will participate in a Mexican border defense medal presentation at the Oval Office. So that's at 3 o'clock. As of right now, that's the only live broadcast for the day. If there's breaking news or something else pops up, I'm sure we'll either be here live or we can upload it, just like our great team does here at Right Side, even over the weekend. And we'll get into some of the videos from over the weekend as well. Of course, Navy edged Army over the weekend in Baltimore, I believe where the Ravens NFL team plays. And we have a little bit of that to go back to just see President Trump as he walks out and the national anthem is performed there. So we'll go to that in just a minute. But in the meantime, we have a few sponsors, of course. All Family Pharmacy is one of them. So here at RSBN, we always try to point you toward companies that actually support your freedom and give you real choices. And that's exactly why we trust All Family Pharmacy. They're not your traditional pharmacy pushing flu shots. All Family Pharmacy is different. They give you options, encourage you to take charge of your health, stay prepared, and have the right medications on hand before sickness hits. And of course, during the holidays, that's important. The travel, the cold weather, the family gatherings, this is when everyone can get sick, unfortunately. So the question is, why wait until someone is miserable and you're scrambling for appointments or pharmacy lines? All Family Pharmacy actually has everything your family might need: antivirals, antibiotics. They have ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, even emergency kits and supplements, all doctor reviewed and delivered fast to your door. So while you're out doing some of that holiday shopping, there's nothing wrong with adding a few essentials, these medications your family might need. So you can stock up, stay prepared, and keep your family healthy this season. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN10 promo code. You get 10% off your order. All right, also, let's go to monetary gold. Wall Street veterans are sounding the alarm. Many now say that gold can climb to $7,000 per troy ounce before the president finishes his term. So it's not wild speculation. I mean, as of right now, it's north of $4,000 per troy ounce. Experienced investors, economists, and portfolio managers are tracking the indicators: soaring national debt, unchecked government spending, and a dollar that's losing purchasing power by the day. What's even more revealing is the behavior of central banks. They're trimming their exposure to U.S. treasuries and increasing their gold reserves. So they recognize the pattern, and they know that paper currencies eventually fail. But gold has remained a reliable store of value throughout history. That's why we rely on monetary gold. With more than 25 years in business, an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, and top 5 rankings from Consumer Affairs and Retirement Living. They've earned this reputation for trust and expertise. Their specialists bring over a century of combined experience helping Americans safeguard their savings. So if you've been waiting for the right moment, this is it. You're looking at it. Don't sit on the sidelines as the dollar continues to weaken. Silver and gold remain time-tested assets for defending your purchasing power. All you have to do is call 888-617-7994 or visit rsbnforthegold.com before the next major move in the gold market. We do know that results can vary, and always consult with your financial and tax advisors before investing. You can get that free info kit with monetary gold. rsbnforthegold.com. All right, it's Monday, December 15th, 1:17, looking live there. All right, so that is the stakeout location outside of the West Wing. Not too much traction or action going on right there at this point. We do know the president has that event at about 3 o'clock. You're seeing the front of the White House there in the bottom right corner, the north lawn of the White House. Before we get back into all of the top headlines that we're seeing across this country and across the earth, if you just joined us now at the top of the broadcast, we've covered almost, I think, every story that has come across your X feed or your Truth Social feed. Now, not every story on earth. I mean, there's a lot, but a lot of the major headlines that have happened over the past 24, 48, 72 hours, including this. In political news, Kamala Harris is reportedly planning another run for president. So speaking of 2028, interactive polls reveal where things stand currently for the presidential primary. So on the Republican side, Vance is at 44.9%, DeSantis at 7.8%. On the Democrat side, Harris at 31.1%, Newsom at 20.3%. Shifting gears, this day in history, we return to December 15th, 1791, when the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution, known as the Bill of Rights, went into effect following the ratification by Virginia. Thank God for those amendments, the Bill of Rights that we just love here in this country. Thank God for that First Amendment, Second Amendment, and on. Also, other stories we're following. The DOJ has until Friday to fully release the Epstein files. Also, we'll monitor any new federal prosecutions in an effort to hold people accountable out there. That's obviously something that would have to be done in the court system. And finally, we're awaiting any concrete measures to secure our elections. And also, of course, freeing Tina Peters. Looking forward to seeing that happen. We'll see if that happens. That's a whole story in itself. All right, in a little bit of lighter news, before we get back into some of the breaking and developing stories out there, let's return to that Army-Navy game as the president walked out prior to the national anthem, and then we'll listen in on the national anthem as well, just in case you missed it over the weekend.
Eternal Father, strong to save, we gather as one people, rooted in many traditions, yet united by our common resolve. As these cadets and midshipmen take the field, we honor the bond they share. Fierce competitors today, yet lifelong teammates in service to our homeland and the Constitution they have sworn to defend. Forge in them and all those they represent unwavering integrity, unyielding grit, and steadfast courage in the face of adversity. May their efforts today and the values they embody inspire us, a watching nation, to follow their example in answering the deeper call to serve something greater than ourselves, and to let that purpose compel us to shape a future worthy of the generations yet to come. Bless the families who formed them, the mentors who guide them, and everyone who stands watch in defense of freedom around the world. Amen. Good work. Good work. Is that Rude? What's Rude doing out there? No, he's always out there. Rude? Yeah, he's not that player. What's the best stuff? Good work.
All right, of course, that was from Saturday where Navy edged Army in that big Navy-Army game. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for streaming in with us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's 1:24 Eastern Time, Monday, December 15th. Of course, if you're into following what's going on out there in this country and around the world, you came to the right place, as we've been tracking a ton of stories that are happening. As you guys know, both breaking news, developing news, tragic news. This has been a awful 24/7 news cycle, especially over the past 24, 48, 72 hours into last week. Meantime, before we get into that, once again, for those that are just joining us, we're approaching the bottom of the hour here. At 3 o'clock, the president will participate in a Mexican border defense medal presentation at the Oval Office, and I'm sure the president will be asked about all sorts of things, including all of the news we're about to talk about. Before we get into that, let's go to some of our great sponsors here at Right Side, including callsheet.com/RSBN. You see the information right there on your screen. College football championship winner. Who's going to win it all? We'll see. Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia. Who knows? It'll be pretty awesome to watch the national championship game in a few weeks from now. But those are the kind of things, whether you want to bet or trade or just check out polls on there, all sorts of topics from sports to politics, faith, weather, music, science, really whatever. So just go to callsheet.com/RSBN, or you can download the Callsheet app, or you can use that QR code right there on your screen. Let's go to our next sponsor, angelpaste.com out of Spring, Texas. It's a good time to still try and get something before Christmas time. If you'd like to purchase this flagship product that you see there on your screen, the Miracle Cream, there's a number of other great products as well. So just go to angelpaste.com. And you can peruse the website, but also at checkout, use the RSBN promo code. That goes a long way for discounts for this great sponsor that's been with us for quite some time now, angelpaste.com, as it's approaching the bottom of the hour. Let's go to Cove Pure. As you see there, drink pure, live pure, covepure.com/RSBN. For that limited time, you get $250 off from this great product here. This filtration system is awesome. At the end of the day, what you're looking for is you want to have better tasting water. You want to have safer, clean drinking water, healthier, instead of all the stuff that can be in the tap, right? Tap water. Unless you like tap water, I don't know many people that do. I know a few, but not many. This is the product to go for, of course. Covepure.com/RSBN would make a great Christmas gift. But on top of that, just for run-of-the-mill at the house, having something like this where you can have cold or warm or hot water out of that too. Not many of them can do that. A lot of them have, you just put it in the fridge and you press the button, you can, have some filtered water. But this is a step up. Drink pure, live pure, covepure.com for a limited time, $250 off. All right. We will have a live interview coming up in just a bit. Before we get to that live interview, we're going to go over the news stories once again. Again, this is not a day where there's one or two stories that happened and you have to look for them. These are the stories that all of us, most of us, have either heard of over the past 5 days, but to bring it all together, kind of like a news aggregate. You have Citizen Free Press out there. They have a news aggregate of all the stories, that kind of thing. On the left side of the aisle, you have the Drudge Report, where it's just a bunch of garbage. But here at Right Side, not to compare with conservative media outlets, we're on the right side of history, and a number of conservative outlets are talking about the following story. So I'm going to go through them. This is collected just over checking out all the stories online and using a number of years of experience and research as to the stories that I know that are on top of mind in this country and around the world. So let's start with that. As many of you know, this is a fallen world in need of a savior. That's the perspective that I'm taking while I share with you all the stories that we're looking at. Here are the top national and international headlines we're tracking. Images from the radical Islamic terrorist attack against Jews at a Hanukkah holiday celebration in Australia. where at least 15 people were gunned down over the weekend. You go from Australia to Syria, where 2 U.S. servicemen and a U.S. interpreter, so 3 United States citizens, were killed by ISIS. The Iowa National Guard named 2 cavalry troopers killed in Syria on December 13th as Sergeant William Howard and Sergeant Edgar Torrestevar. President Trump is saying there will be retaliation against ISIS. Also, in developing news that I saw on X via Election Wizard, the FBI says 5 members of a pro-Palestinian group have been arrested in Los Angeles and New Orleans for plotting bomb attacks for the 2026 New Year's Eve. Also, over the weekend, 2 Brown University students in Providence, Rhode Island, were killed by a shooter, including 19-year-old Ella Cook, who served as vice president of the Republican Club at the university, who reportedly was targeted in this shooting. The other student that was killed, Muhammad Mirzakov, an immigrant from Uzbekistan. The gunman, we're told, is still on the loose in that story. Last night, actor-director Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle were found dead in their LA home after being stabbed to death. The suspect, according to law enforcement, is their son, Nick Reiner. Over the weekend in Savannah, Georgia, a woman is recovering from severe burns after a man allegedly poured acid on her while she was walking at a park. In New York City, a tourist from California was changing her baby in a bathroom at a Macy's in the Herald Square area when she was stabbed by a crazed homeless woman. We're also awaiting any more details out of Colorado for the release of Patriot Tina Peters. And a positive update out of West Virginia, the National Guardsman, Andrew Wolf, he's making great progress, so let's keep him in our prayers as he recovers. And then in other news, we're seeing that podcaster Candace Owens will be having a private conversation with the CEO of tvOS, Erica Kirk, for those of you that have been following that story online as well. So those are some of the stories that have happened in the past 4 to 5 days. And that's just, after checking out various headlines. And I'm sure there's plenty of other stories out there. We can talk about some of them as we await our live interview. In political news, before we get to that, let's go to some of our sponsors. We'll get back into the political news and some of the other stories we're tracking out there. Let's go to All Family Pharmacy. Here at RSBN, we always try to point you toward companies that actually support your freedom and give you real choices, and that's exactly why we trust All Family Pharmacy. They're not your traditional pharmacy pushing flu shots. All Family Pharmacy is different. They give you options. They encourage you to take charge of your health, stay prepared, and have the right medications on hand before sickness strikes. So, of course, during the holidays, that's important. The travel, the cold weather, the family gatherings. That's unfortunately when everyone can get sick. So why wait until someone is miserable and you're scrambling for appointments or pharmacy lines? All Family Pharmacy has everything your family might need this holiday season and outside of the holiday season. Antivirals, antibiotics, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, even emergency kits and supplements, all doctor reviewed and delivered fast to your door. So while you're out doing that holiday shopping, maybe last second holiday shopping, there's nothing wrong with adding a few essential medications your family might need. So you can stock up, stay prepared, and keep your family healthy this season. You can visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN10 promo code for 10% off your order. Let's also go to mypillow.com/RSBN. The great Mike Lindell there. Merry Christmas. Save up to 80% this holiday. Always good to get some products from mypillow.com. I know my family and extended family, we all have MyPillow products. I'm sure a lot of you do too out there. So maybe purchase one extra one, or if you have a bigger budget this year, maybe purchase a few, for yourself, for your loved ones, for holidays, for Christmas. And you can do that at mypillow.com/RSBN. Get that huge percentage off too, up to 80% off with mypillow.com. All right, if you'd like to donate to Right Side, all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801 or go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. Those are the 2 spots you can donate. Also, there's a 3rd spot. For those of you that like snail mail, which some do out there, and they donate and they have donated over the years, we have a mailing address, a P.O. box for you. It's 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. If you're just asking, well, what was that address again? All you have to do is hit pause and just scrub back a little bit, and the address will be back at you. So there you go, 134 Monday, December 15th. So if you're just joining us now, we went over all of the national and international stories that are making those huge headlines out there. Also in political news, of course, we're awaiting the president at 3 o'clock for this event. The event specifically, according to the public schedule from the White House, the president will participate in a Mexican border defense medal presentation at the Oval Office. I'm sure all of the stories that I talked about, most of them at least, or a number of them, will be asked to the president about his thoughts or reactions to so many stories that we went over. And we went over them twice just in case, everybody's kind of like, hey, I remember this story, this story, this story. But when there's that many terrible stories going on, you just kind of put them all together and just bring that awareness of what's happening out there in the country. And many of you already know about all of the stories that I talked about. I get that. But it's just kind of proves a point, as what I was saying before, about our world is a fallen world, man. We need a Savior, and we have one, and we know what his name is, Jesus Christ of Nazareth. And for those that don't believe, that's totally cool in the sense of the political aspect of this program. As we report, the main thing that we do really is really the freedom aspect of things. And we know that the truth will set you free. So we're just going over all the stories here, and also going over some of the political news as well. So if you're just joining us, we're seeing that Kamala Harris, she's reportedly planning another run for president. And speaking of 2028, the interactive polls are revealing where things stand currently for presidential primaries. And I know that's a number of years away from now, but still just tracking some of that, that I saw over the weekend. On the Republican side, Vance is at 44.9%, DeSantis at 7.8%. The list goes on, and I'll share that with you. Rubio at 7.1, RFK Jr. 6.1, Cruz at 5.0, so 5%, Haley at 4.8, Gabbard at 2.8, Glenn Youngkin 2.1. On the Democrat side, Harris is at 31.1%, Newsom's at 20.3%. And then the list continues with Buttigieg, Shapiro, Beshear, and Whitmer. Also, this day in history, we return to December 15th, 1791, when the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution, known as the Bill of Rights, went into effect following the ratification by Virginia. So that happened today, back in 1791. Other stories we're also following. The DOJ has until Friday to fully release the Epstein files. We'll also monitor any new federal prosecutions in an effort to hold people accountable. Of course, that would happen through the court of law. Finally, awaiting any concrete measures to secure our elections. I know that there's this huge call on Wednesday that has a number of people that are about election security, including, I believe, Mike Lindell may be on that call, but there's a number of people. We'll talk about that tomorrow when Steve Stern joins the program. All right, so those are some of the stories that we're tracking. Of course, if you're just joining us, we talked about Tina Peters. We talked about Brown University, the tragedy. We talked about the Hanukkah celebration in Australia. We spoke about even this breaking news that I saw on X earlier, as I pull it up right now, that the FBI says 5 members of a pro-Palestinian group have been arrested in LA and New Orleans for plotting bomb attacks in 2026 for the New Year's Eve celebrations. So there's just a lot going on. So what do you do when you see all these stories? A lot of times in the media, just they kind of talk about the story and they move on, or there's commentary and that kind of thing. But, it's tough to come into a Monday to start the work week and look at what the heck just happened. Again, I've been in this business for 20 plus years. 20 plus years. I'm 44 years old. I know I'm not 55 yet or anything, but still 20 plus years, worked all across the country, have seen a lot, have reported a lot, but I haven't really seen, and this is not about any conspiracy or anything. I'm just taking it from that 30,000 foot view. But there's just a lot that happened in the past 4 or 5 days, including last night, just the shocking news of the actor-director Rob Reiner and his wife being killed allegedly by their son. So there's just a lot going on. It's a time to pray. It's a time to, seek God, but also to bring law and order, And there's a number of stories out there again, and we may go over them in just a minute, as we have a live interview coming up with Jack Brewer of the Jack Brewer Group, of course, the Jack Brewer Foundation. He's been on the broadcast before. He's also a former NFL player and a man of God, a person that's, I believe, a pastor. He's in ministry as well. So it would be great to talk to him about that. Before we do, let's go to a commercial break. I'm Matthew Alvarez. It's Monday, December 15th. You're watching RSBN Live.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed, so join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.
All right, welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's 1:41 Eastern. The president will see him around 3 o'clock there at the White House. Robert McNeely will be in about 2 o'clock as well to cover that live right here at Right Side. But joining us now is Jack Brewer. He's the CEO of the Jack Brewer Group and former NFL player. Jack, thanks so much for joining us once again here on Right Side.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Definitely. If you've been watching any of the broadcast over the past 40 minutes, there was just 2 segments of the same information, because it's kind of like you digest all of the things that have happened in the past 5 days. Have you seen what's going on out there, and what are your thoughts about it?
Yes, I have. I mean, we are under a spiritual attack in this country. You know, everything. Really, you look back over the past 9-10 years, and almost everything that President Trump warned us about is happening right before our eyes. I mean, you just have all this hate, and you have all these groups, whether it's Islamist extremists, all this whole pro-Palestine movement, or you have this gender dysphoria, people that minds are just warped, who have mental health issues that, we have really suppressed and emboldened in a lot of ways in this country. And so you're just seeing all these things manifest, man. And, whenever you got to worry about going to school and sending your kids to college, whether or not they're going to get colleges shot up, our Jewish community, as they start off Hanukkah, they're taking on gunfire and being shot at in Australia. And so this is a global epidemic, and what's going on. It's really a deep hate. You start thinking about every day in Nigeria. If you live in the north of Nigeria and you're a Christian, you got to worry about someone coming and raping and murdering your daughters. You go through Sudan, the same thing. They are pillaging Christians. And so it's just happening, in pockets all over the world. And so it's a time that we must all reflect and all recognize, these trying times that we live in.
Exactly. And on top of that, the root causes, right? And sometimes it's just common sense where it comes from good, or does it come from evil? And
Right.
We know that which side it is when we cover stories like the story in Australia, like in Syria when 2 U.S. service members and an interpreter were killed by ISIS. We know that the president's going to retaliate there with the military. Did you hear that the FBI says 5 members of a pro-Palestinian group have been arrested in LA and New Orleans for then plotting bomb attacks as well? I mean, there's just a lot going on, and this is why they call it a news anchor. You have to anchor what's going on and share with the people. These are the stories we're looking at. We're aware of them, and many people are aware these days too, but the good versus evil thing is really what it's about, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it really comes down to that. No matter what your beliefs are, if whatever you believe in drives you to this type of hate and destruction and murder, you know where you sit, right? Light cannot survive in darkness because light will always overcome darkness. And so a lot of these people are dark. And we see what's happening, but we can't pander it anymore. We have to address it. I think too long in this nation we were politically correct, and we had that whole decade or two of us not being able to say things and not being able to speak the truth, worrying about what people thought about us. And we got to get past that now. We got to address this. In our country, we have a immigration issue. It's a real issue. We have people and terrorists in our country right now plotting to murder Americans, and we have to get to the root of that. Globally, we know that Christians are being persecuted. We understand the times that we live in, and we can't back away from it. And so I think President Trump is the right man to be leading this nation right now. I think Secretary Pete Hegseth is the right man to be overseeing our military. And we know that we have people right now in our government that are not going to back down from these enemies, foreign and domestic, physical and spiritual, because that's what they all are. And we have to get back to a spiritual place in this country to where we are, declaring Christ, and that we're teaching our kids the 10 Commandments, and that we're standing on what this nation was built on. We're being challenged right now. We're being challenged because, our faith has worried a little bit, man. We've wavered a lot over the course of the last couple of decades. And so we got to reestablish that with our youth, but we also have to address that with the issues that we see now with all of these different dysphorias in the promoting of antichrist agendas, particularly when it comes to Islamist terrorists in Sharia law in Islam trying to overtake our land. We got to stand up to that.
And then you see in Australia where Jews are celebrating Hanukkah for that celebration, and you have a father and a son, radical Islam members carrying out that atrocity there. And then you go from Australia to Rhode Island, where 19-year-old Ella Cook, who served as a vice president of the Republican Club at the university there, was targeted and her life taken. She's conservative, Catholic, Christian, and now with Jesus. But when we look at all these stories, man, it's just it is a time to pray, isn't it?
Right. It really is. It's a time to pray. We know what the enemy looks like. We can go to Scripture, and really all this is doing is affirming Scripture. And if you study the Bible, and if you believe in Christ, you know that all of these things are already forecasted. I just saw today where a pastor's son, 31 years old, stabbed his dad and killed him 31 times, I believe. Just stabbed him to death. And so these things are all in Scripture. They're all in writing. Go read Matthew 24, and you can see everything that's happening right now. Go read the book of Revelations. Go read the 12th and 13th chapter. You'll understand many of the things that are before us, and they've all been written. But what does that mean? That means that we cannot continue to try to live in the secular. We cannot continue to accept the ways of the secular. As Christians, we will be persecuted for the name of Jesus. But what's that persecution look like? It could be physical. It could be spiritual. It could be people hurting you. It could be at your job. No matter where it is, you have to be willing to declare the name of Jesus in everything that we do right now. We have to stand for the gospel of Jesus Christ, and we have to do it with love. And the love of God means truth. We have to tell people the truth. We cannot continue to allow people to live live these lies and for our nation to be run with a lie. Your boy is not a girl and your girl is not a boy, and they cannot play together on the same sports field. It's not fair. There is a difference. God created us in a certain way, in men and women. And men, when you have a child, you should take care of your child. You should not leave your family to be on welfare and not taking care of your responsibility. That is creating a fatherless generation, like it is said and quoted in scripture, and we must address that. That's the reason we have all these kids terrorizing these communities. 40 and 50 people shot in one weekend in Chicago. These are fatherless kids that are doing that. That's the reason why President Trump has to send out the National Guard into our streets of our community. Why? Because our dads haven't manned up and taken care of their kids. So our little boys don't know how to read and write. Their reading and math proficiency levels in these communities are in the tank. They're worse than third world countries. Why are we seeing all this sin and debauchery in our streets? It's because we've turned from God. We've tried to bring the secular into our nation and broken up the family unit. And that's why we see death and destruction all around us today.
Jack, that is 100% the truth right there. For those of you just joining us, this is Jack Brewer of the Jack Brewer Foundation, the Jack Brewer Group as well. He's the CEO, also former NFL player at the Vikings and a number of other teams out there. And another story that we're following too is the release of Tina Peters in Colorado, someone that was pardoned by President Trump. That's the federal aspect, but the state is still clamping down on that. And I typed this, or I posted this on Truth Social. I wanted to get your reaction on it. Whether God's divine intervention or that of the U.S. federal marshals or both, we pray in Jesus' name for the release of Patriot Tina Peters. Your thoughts, sir?
I mean, listen, the persecution of Christians, it just continues to happen, man. You shouldn't have to face persecution for things that are righteous. You shouldn't have to face persecution for standing up for your faith at any level. And so when these things start to be targeted, we have to lock arms as Christians and continue to pray. We got a president that's standing up for people, man. Standing up for people that over the previous 4 years, people were being persecuted. People were being slandered. They have weaponized the government. They have weaponized all of these local and state legislative bodies. They're weaponizing the very governments that this nation was built on, and it's disgusting. And I hope I'm with you. I'm joining you in that prayer, and I think the nation should join you in that prayer. And as a Christian community, listen, the word says, "Do not yoke with unbelievers." And so that means if you're a believer and we all yoke together, God has already given us the power to overcome all of these evils. And we got to get together and really pray for people like Tina. In these situations that are happening in our nation are just opportunities for miracles and wonders and signs to happen before us so that we all can see them. God just needs us all to yoke up together and start to call out to him louder and louder so that his will can be done.
May revival, sweep across this land, and may it not be just words that are spoken on a conservative broadcast, but the actual Spirit of God move across this land and see this really happen. A few other headlines before I let you go, Jack, I just wanted to ask you about. First, the DOJ has until Friday to fully release the Epstein files. Then we'll also monitor any new federal prosecutions in an effort to hold people accountable. And finally, asking about this here, awaiting any concrete measures to secure our elections. So your thoughts about just free and fair elections, that's really all we want when it comes to that, don't we?
That's it. You gotta have free and fair elections. The opportunity to manipulate. I just saw the recent news on the findings from the 2020 election. I mean, we all watched that when we had people again that were persecuted for standing up to that and trying to be the voices of a free and fair election. People were targeted. And they continue to be targeted throughout the entire Biden administration. People lost their livelihoods and their businesses got crushed because of these things. It's unbelievable how you've just sat here and watched right? A two-tier justice system, that will tell someone that they're a criminal for one thing, but yet if I go to the grocery store, right, I might get asked to show my credit card, to show my ID or my credit card. If I walk into any place where someone needs to verify who I am, I can have a driver's license to do that. But at the same time, it's racist for us, or it's at some point that we're anti-American for expecting people to be able to identify themselves to vote, making sure everyone has one vote. And since the beginning of time, right, people have had to be a citizen to vote. Who wants a non-citizen who hadn't paid the price to be an American to be able to vote and control elections? We've all seen this playbook and what they're doing. They opened up the borders so that they could try to increase their voting block to win elections in the future. We know what they were doing. And now what are they doing? They're complaining because we're going in and kicking people out of the country who have broken the law. But the same people who are supposed to be the social justice warriors, they're not advocating for American citizens in prison. They're not advocating for American citizens that were falsely accused. If there's hundreds of thousands of men and women in prison today for nonviolent crimes, that's the same crime as coming across the border and defrauding the nation. When you come across the border as an illegal immigrant, you are defrauding the nation. When you take money as a non-citizen as if you were a citizen, that is called fraud. And so we need to call it what it is. If it was you or I who are taxpayers, who are Americans, they would have already locked us up. And so I don't want to hear, this perspective that they're not criminals. It's just taking up, mom and pops who are at home working, trying to create a living. If you want to create a living for yourself, do it legally. Do it in the country that you have legal status in. If you choose to do that in a country you don't have legal status in, then you are a criminal. I'm sorry to explain it to you if you don't understand that. And so we've gotten lost. We've lost our way, and now is the time to right that wrong. It's going to take a long time. It's going to take more than 4 years. They let 30 million people come across our border. It's going to take a long time to get everyone out, but we cannot stop. It is not right to treat one population one way and have our own citizens locked up in prisons and jails for committing the same level of crime. Enough is enough.
Jack Brewer joining us live on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
God bless you, sir. God bless you. Thank you so much for your program. And praise Jesus.
Praise Jesus. Amen. 1:56, Monday, December 15th. Quite the interview there with Jack Brewer. If you're just joining us, we've been covering all of these national stories from coast to coast and across the earth. There's a lot going on, as you know. If you missed any of those stories, of course, Robert McNeely will be in at 2 o'clock, I'm sure, talking about some of them. We'll see the president at about 3 o'clock at the event there. But if you missed any of the commentary or the stories, you could always replay that maybe after the broadcast. In the meantime, let's go to a couple of our sponsors, and then we'll close this first hour before Robert steps into the studio with the Wreaths Across America video. I'll give you some context on that in just a second, but let's go to our first sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network right now, as it's 1:56 Eastern Time, Monday, December 15th. It is Monetary Gold. So Wall Street veterans are sounding the alarm. Many say gold can climb to $7,000 per troy ounce before the end of President Trump's term. This isn't wild speculation. Experienced investors and economists and the portfolio managers are tracking the indicators, the soaring national debt, the unchecked government spending, and a dollar that's losing purchasing power by the day. So what's even more revealing is the behavior of central banks. They're actually trimming their exposure to U.S. treasuries and increasing their gold reserves. So they recognize the pattern. They know that paper currencies eventually fail, but gold has remained a reliable store of value throughout history. So we rely on Monetary Gold here. You can check out the info kit on gold. You get a free one, 888-617-7994, or go to RSBNforthegold.com today. Results can vary. Always consult with your financial and tax advisors before investing. But get that free info kit, Monetary Gold, RSBNforthegold.com. Also, Kalshi.com/RSBN. A lot of different questions on there, including the college football championship winner. Who will that be? Will it be the Buckeyes? Will it be the Hoosiers? Will it be the Bulldogs? Or if you don't even care about sports, there's a number of other things you can check out on callsheet.com. That's growing in a lot of popularity out there. Millions of users at this point. Callsheet.com/RSBN. You can download the app or you can go to that QR code. All right. AngelPaste.com as well, out of Spring, Texas. If you'd like to go to Angel Paste, you can use that RSBN promo code. A ton of great products there that you can get for Christmas for a loved one, or if you just are looking for something for yourself. AngelPaste.com is the website. It's 1:58 Monday, December 15th. Over the weekend, the National Wreaths Across America event took place. It was on Saturday, where 2 million volunteers and supporters gathered to remember and honor veterans at more than 5,200 participating locations in all 50 states, at sea and abroad. It's a real grassroots effort to say thank you to our veterans as people placed Christmas wreaths at veterans' tombstones. This is a video. My family and I were there. We saw this. It was not easy to do, but as someone told me, just imagine what it's like for me, of what this is like to deal with. It's not easy to cover this stuff, but it's still good because it brings awareness and thanksgiving and honoring our great United States military veterans. My name is Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for watching for this first hour after the video. Robert McNeely will be in studio to carry the live program all the way up until President Trump at 3 o'clock Eastern. Let's take a look at Wreaths Across America as we honor, respect, and pay tribute to our great United States military veterans.
So to be able to do this in communities across America, all pretty much at the same time, I think it's an awesome testimony to the American spirit and the fact that we don't take for granted the freedoms that we do have.
Randall.
Randall J. Hudson. Merry Christmas, Randy.
Major James E. McLaughlin, United States Air Force. Thank you for your service. Penny, so they know veteran is here.
Clayton Lee Wallace, my second son, uncle to the young man right here. Merry Christmas. We miss you. And I understand the reasons why you're here. And all we can say is, we love you. And with that, we have a wreath for you. Clay, here is your wreath. We've decorated a little bit, put some flags and markers in there. Clay, thank you, sir.
We took an oath, and that's why we do what we do. And the more people that take that oath and stand up for what they believe and what they were taught to believe, the better off this country's going to be. Because we don't want to go by the wayside like some of these other people.
It's for freedom. It's for acknowledging that, they say every veteran signed a blank check with their lives, to serve the American people. So it's honoring those who have, and for us, having a very close friend and a classmate, so someone our age here, and it's a way because it's local, and we have had veterans in our families, and we can't always get to their grave sites. So it's I think it's a way to say thank you to all of them.
A fitting and moving tribute this weekend thanks to Matthew Alvarez visiting Wreaths Across America, December 13th. A wonderful day and an annual tradition that has become very important not only at Arlington National Cemetery, but across the country as we await President Trump expected to deliver a Mexican Border Defense Medal at 3 o'clock at the top of the hour. I'm Robert McNeely, and as Matthew Alvarez covered many tragic stories over the course of the weekend, but we enter the Festival of Lights, this Hanukkah season that comes right before Christmas and during the Advent season to really reflect upon what matters most, the season of giving and the reason for the season, as Chile has chosen Jose Antonio Cast as its new president, a man whose life story is deeply rooted in faith, family, and tradition. He is the son of German Catholic immigrants who built a thriving sausage business right there in Chile and not far from Argentina. We saw as many Italian and German immigrants over the course of the last century going to South America. This thriving business taking place where Cast is a father of 9 and a steadfast advocate for the right to life, traditional marriage, and parental rights in education, even when these stances have cost him political prowess. Now, as a member of the parochial school known as the Schoenstatt Catholic Movement, his spiritual convictions are woven into the fabric of his very public life. Educated at the German School of Santiago and the Pontifical College University of Chile, Cast was raised in a devout Catholic household, shaping his unwavering moral compass. He has often declared that his faith and family come before politics, a sentiment echoed in his words. I entered politics as a Catholic. First, I am a Catholic. Then I am a politician. First, I am a father of the family. Then I am a politician. And with an elder brother serving as a priest, Cast's roots run very deep in the Catholic religion. On the night of his victory, he opened up his first speech as president-elect by thanking his family for their enduring support and entrusting a mandate to God, seeking wisdom, temperance, and strength to rise to the challenge. Throughout this very mission and the campaign, Cast never wavered in his message, boldly reaffirming, we are going to talk about God again, about the homeland and about the family. They are the values that have sustained the solidity of our homeland, and we must not feel fear in the face of what they say to us. So some hope in South America as many of these nations very close to one another experiencing much different kinds of governments. When you compare that to a Venezuela, for example, where there really is no freedom. Once it was there, but under the Maduro regime, we see an extremism and a totalitarianism that really bites at the heart of any freedom-loving person throughout the world. And with the death of Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle, just a terrible story in regards to that stabbing and the alleged killer, their son arrested in connection with it, Maria Shriver offered some words regarding their untimely passing. I loved Michelle and Rob Reiner, and they were among my closest friends. We raised our kids together from mommy and me on up. We laughed together, cried together, and we played together. We dreamed together. We had dinner this past week, and they were the best place in their lives, loving one another, loving their friends, their family, their country. They never gave up on our country, and they wanted to make it better. They always, always, always wanted to make the world better, and they were willing to fight to make it in the country that they loved. And I loved them, and I knew they loved me, and for any friend, that is such a gift. They gave me, all of their friends, that gift of time, and they loved their kids so much, and they never stopped trying to be really good parents. My love is with their family. I'm sad for them, and so deeply saddened as all of the people who loved them and who they loved. I hope people remember them as two deeply talented, kind, funny, loving, good, patriotic people who loved each other deeply. And I'll miss you, Michelle. I'll miss you, Rob. And I love you both. Thank you for your friendship, and God bless you both. Life will not be the same without you here, that's for sure. And it's always a little bit more difficult this time of year. And regardless of political ideology or differences in that regard, Rob Reiner stopped on the Piers Morgan show during an interview and called what happened to Charlie Kirk earlier this year, the political assassination, uncalled for, and that any political violence is absolutely tragic, and it really disturbed him to the core, even though Charlie and him were on complete opposite sides of the ideological spectrum. And just surfing through, not doom scrolling per se, but looking through social media over the weekend or even this morning, I think it really harkens back to the call of this time of year, to our common humanity, and to have that kindness and to approach it with such when people go through such tragedy as we saw over the weekend. The Hanukkah season reminding us of that, Christmas reminding us of that as well, that our common humanity does bind us, as we thank allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Again, this time of year, family and friends, togetherness, lots of travel by plane, train, or automobile. Make sure that you get the 10% off deal now, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Code RSBN10, RSBN10 for Tamiflu, antibiotics, antivirals, ivermectin, and much, much more, including hydrochloroquine, NAD+, methylene blue, and those life-saving medications that can make a massive difference for you and yours, whether it's just stocking up that medicine cabinet or bringing it on the road with you as you travel to see loved ones during the Hanukkah and Christmas seasons. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN there for you today. Tax Network USA, tnusa.com/RSBN. Protect yourself and settle those back taxes today, whether it is from April 15th or October 15th, and you're delayed on that for whatever reason. These Patriot experts can handle this for you as accountants and some who have worked for the IRS. They know a thing or two about settling those back taxes. Again, tnusa.com/RSBN. That is tnusa.com/RSBN. A wonderful way to make sure the taxes are all settled and in place to make sure you're not stressing out this holiday season. I thought it was very interesting at church yesterday, my pastor talking on this very topic about remaining still and waiting the coming of the Lord in the Advent season, with a Gaudete Sunday, a celebration in the church with pink vestments, and that somewhat halfway to Christmas mark, and with 10 days away, reflecting on that silence and that being still in the moment. And he said, if you experience joy this time of year, make sure you share that joy with everyone else. If you experience that sadness and sorrow, which some do, make sure that you stop the busyness in life and get back into church. As we are joined by Pastor Brad Brandon, doing some amazing work over in Nigeria and deeply focused on making sure the Christian efforts there are safe and they're able to survive in what's unbelievable terror and horror happening over in Nigeria. Pastor Brad, thank you for joining us on really a somber Monday. So much violence happening over the weekend. First and foremost, in your being a pastor and counseling people, how would you recommend those, especially in the United States, how to handle what we heard in the news over the weekend and how to protect yourself, especially during the holiday season?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to remind ourselves that in the midst of the chaos of this world, God is in control. And God is always at work, and he's always working for his glory and for our good. And I often have to remind myself of that because it's not always apparent to us when we see things like what's happening around the world, what happened here in the U.S. and other places around the world. It's a constant reminder to us that we have to know that everything that happens is working God's glory, and it's working his plan, and the devil is trying to thwart all of that, right? And evil is trying to thwart all of that. But God ultimately already has the victory. He's on the throne. And I think sometimes we can get afraid, we can get fearful when we forget that he's sovereign and he does sit on his throne. That's something I have to remind myself of working in the environment that we work in northern Nigeria, is no matter what happens, God is in control.
And tell us about that amazing work that you're doing, because if I'm correct, northern Nigeria has more of the Islamist movement, a more Muslim majority. Central is kind of mixed, and then there's more Christians in the south. But we've seen the genocide taking place, the White House speaking on this, to pastors across the country and many different churches addressing this very vile issue happening in Africa. Tell us more about the work you do at Across Nigeria to make sure that people are aware of the Christian genocide and how to bring harmony and peace back to this country.
Yeah, northern Nigeria is about 95% Muslim. 12 of the northern Nigeria states are controlled by an extreme form of Sharia law. There's more Christians that are killed in northern Nigeria than anywhere else in the world, and not by small margins. If you take last year, all of the Christians that were killed in the entire world were killed, 70% of them were killed in northern Nigeria. The year before that, it was 90% of all the Christians killed in the world were killed in northern Nigeria. It is the most dangerous place in the world to be a Christian. More than 50,000 Christians killed since 2009. And even the UN estimates that 350,000 people have died since 2002 because of the instability that Boko Haram has brought into the region. These are areas that are controlled by ISWA, the Islamic State of West Africa. These are areas that are controlled by Boko Haram, the areas that we work in. There's more than 3.5 million people in internally displaced persons camps. 80% of them are Christian. So this is an area of the world that is targeting Christians, and there's a genocide that's happening right now. And the Nigerian government is continuing to deny that it happened. You mentioned our government recently getting involved. President Trump just declared Nigeria a country of particular concern, which is an official designation by the State Department that allows us to put diplomatic pressure on Nigeria. It allows us to put sanctions on Nigeria. It allows us to withhold and restrict aid to Nigeria, all to put pressure on the Nigerian government to stop this genocide that has now been continuing on for over 15 years. I've been working there for 10 years. It's been going on as long as I've been working there. It's just now that that people are finally starting to talk about it. Across Nigeria, our organization goes into northern Nigeria. We do two things. One, we help persecuted Christians. We have a refugee facility where we bring people to help them to restart their lives. They've lost everything. Oftentimes they're being hunted. This is a part of the world where under Sharia law, if you're a Muslim and you convert to Christianity, that's a crime punishable by death. It's a blasphemy crime in Sharia law, punishable by death. So oftentimes people are being hunted by their own communities, their own families. We help them escape those situations, bring them to our refugee facility, and help them to literally restart their lives. We train them in a skilled trade, and after about a year, we try to relocate them to a safer part of the country or somewhere else, Benin or Cameroon, anywhere where they can be safe. The other part of our ministry is equally important. I believe that the gospel of Jesus Christ is the answer to all of this. So we go into northern Nigeria and we reach Muslims with the gospel of Jesus Christ. We do that through schools. We do that through medical aid. We do that just by showing the love of Christ. We believe that the fruit of the Spirit is called fruit in the Bible for a reason. Fruit is the reproductive organ of a plant. It has seeds. You open up an apple, inside are seeds. It's how faith is reproduced in the lives of people around us. So we bear that fruit, and hopefully we plant the seeds of faith. And we've seen thousands of Muslims come to Christ. Anywhere we planted a school, the violence drops by anywhere from 60 to 70%. So we know that the gospel works to solve this problem.
Well, it's amazing work that you're doing, Pastor. What would you recommend that you've had so many years on the ground, literally boots on the ground in this country, when it comes in regards to refugee status, maybe for some of these Christians coming to America? Clearly, the work you're doing is turning tides and converting people really when they're up against the sword, literally speaking, and in many cases could be turned in by the authorities, because I think that's hard for people to wrap their mind around, right, left and center in this country, although many of us who were around and alive for 9/11 understand to a certain extent radical Islamic terror, but the idea of Islamism and the government carrying out Sharia, I think, is somewhat foreign to many Americans.
Yeah, I mean, it's happening. The Sharia law is spreading. We've seen it spread through northern Nigeria. It's spreading into Europe right now. There's many cities in Europe that have no-go zones where first responders and police officers can't even go into these areas that are controlled by Sharia law. We see the Arbitration Act in the UK that's using Sharia rulings as precedents in their own courts. We see it creeping its way into the U.S. In 2009, there was an abuse case, where a Muslim woman accused her husband of abusing her. The judge a Superior Court judge here consulted the family's imam, and because under Sharia law, a woman's testimony is worth half that of a man, he used that imam's decision in his ruling, ruled against a protection order for the wife, and used that in his ruling. Now, that was ultimately overturned, but it just shows the volition of Sharia law, not to assimilate to the culture that it's in, but to dominate the culture. And that's what we've seen all around the world, Back in 1981, there was one country, Saudi Arabia, that had Sharia law as its official court. Now I think we are at somewhere around 36 countries around the world. We only have 196 countries in the world. 36 of them now have Sharia law. So it is spreading like wildfire, and it is a threat coming here to the United States if we don't do something about it.
That's really an amazing rise, Pastor, and extraordinary given the fact that you have the Abraham Accords, and you have a lot of Muslim-majority countries now seeming to not necessarily be behind Israel, but wanting to work with the Trump administration to expand these places, because dating back to that time when it was only Egypt, we're coming off of the Camp David Accords. We're coming off of Israel and Egypt fighting for a long period of time, and Jimmy Carter, really that being the highlight of his presidency. But now many of these Middle East countries actually saying, Iran, that's not the direction we're going to go. We're not going to attack people with weapons of mass destruction. We're not going to intimidate people or export a radical form of Shia through different organizations, from Hezbollah to Hamas, and of course what you're experiencing with Boko Haram in Nigeria. Why do you think the rise in these governments succumbing to this form of Sharia? Because we now see Middle East countries cooperating arguably better than they ever had.
Yeah, this is on the heels of the first and second Arab Spring as well. I mean, it seemed like it was spreading like wildfire nonstop. I think that speaks to strong leadership. Right now, we have in the White House a strong leader. Like him or hate him, President Trump is doing a phenomenal job. He's a strong leader. He doesn't put up with anything. And people in third world countries, and particularly Arab countries and Muslim countries, respond to strength. They don't respond to weakness. They look at weakness and capitulation as just an advantage that they can have. I know that, working in a country that's controlled by Islam. they respond to really the iron fist, a strong leader. And that's what we see happening around the world right now. We see the Arab world is responding to the strong leadership that's in the White House right now. We didn't see that under Obama. We certainly didn't see that under Biden. In fact, it was just getting worse and worse and worse. And now all of a sudden we have a strong leader in the White House, and you have Arab countries like you mentioned saying, oh, wait a minute, I think it's time that we all should be working together. That's the testament to a strong leadership.
And Pastor, what does your organization need at the moment? Is it financial? Is it boots on the ground? Of course, building these churches, educating people, really trying to create the new evangelization, which is sweeping the world in so many good ways, especially in Africa. We see Christianity rising on the whole on that continent, perhaps more than the rest of the world. Of course, Americans here, Christians always should and are praying for conversions. But what's most needed right now for the amazing work that you're doing?
I think with all the darkness, all the persecution and suffering that's going on in Nigeria, I would be remiss not to mention that God is doing something miraculous in the hearts of Muslims in northern Nigeria. I mentioned to you that we've seen thousands of Muslims coming to Christ. We have testimonies of Muslims having dreams. The gospel comes to them in a dream. They'll know the gospel as well as you and I do. The story of Jesus, why Jesus died for them, just because of a dream they had. I remember showing up at a village once where the entire used to be Muslim village, now was a Christian village. I asked the chief what happened. He said God sent him a dream about the gospel of Jesus Christ, that Jesus died on the cross for him, rose again on the third day, died for his sins. He knew the whole gospel, and he worked to convert his entire village based on that one dream. So to answer your question is, we need funding. That's the biggest thing that we need right now. That's the easiest way people can help, is to go to acrossnigeria.org. Help us financially, because we need to really capitalize on this momentum, this spiritual momentum that's happening in the Muslim world and in northern Nigeria right now.
Pastor Brad Brandon, thank you so much. Across Nigeria, the founder and CEO. Please come back and see us again on the right side of history. In case I don't get to talk to you directly, a very Merry Christmas to you and yours. And thank you for bringing such hope to us on a rather difficult news day.
All right. Thank you very much. God bless.
And as we continue to cover the news and everything that's happening throughout the world, some tragedy, especially in Australia, down under our dear friends, 15 dead from a terrorist attack that took place. People like Pastor Brad Brandon really have seen it up front and personal, and the only way you can attack an ideology like that is to bring peace. As Martin Luther King Jr. once said, the great pastor and civil rights leader, is that hate does not beget hate. Only love and peace, harmony, can change the hearts of many. So a wonderful story on this rather difficult day. As we say thank you to our sponsors, Kalshi.com/RSBN, a wonderful place to go and trade and bet on the American story as we know it. Will the college football championship winner be the Ohio State Buckeyes, the Indiana Hoosiers, or those Georgia Bulldogs? Fernando Mendoza, the Heisman winner over the weekend, that heartfelt and tear-filled testament to his mother that he could not have done it without her, and sharing that special trophy with his mom was quite a moment to watch in sports media. And as he won that Big Ten championship, their first outright championship since 1945 in the Big Ten Conference, known as a basketball school, they are sure making their headways known in the football world. Will Jensen Wang be Times Person of the Year? Well, we're seeing that AI is creeping on in there. Probably should be President Trump, let's be honest. What say you? Feedback at rsbn.tv. You can always write in, but in the meantime, Kalshi.com/RSBN. Scan that QR code there and answer the questions that are on the minds of countless Americans as we go into 2026 in this golden era to celebrate 250 years of America. Also, thank you to angelpaste.com. They are the miracle cream. I use this every day. It's vitamin B infused, non-GMO, no chemicals. Their orange option infused with vitamin C as well. Great for this time of year. And with these all-natural and or organic remedies, Angel Paste is leading the way on this with a natural facial spray to go paint the town red this weekend as we celebrate the Hanukkah and Christmas seasons. AngelPaste.com. Experience the miracle of this Christian-owned company. They hire veterans out of Spring, Texas, off the Gulf of America. It is truly a miracle this time of year. A great stocking stuffer as well, especially for those last-minute gifts, and a great way to buy that and make someone very special in your life happy this holiday season. AngelPaste.com. Thank you to CovePure.com/RSBN as well for a gift that is great for those who are hard to buy for. We know that has happened a time or two. CovePure.com/RSBN, the holiday sale, $250 off right now. Drink pure, live pure. It's CovePure.com/RSBN. Get rid of the fluoride, the pesticides, the chemicals, the agricultural runoff with this amazing machine. As you can see there, it gets warm immediately. It gets cold immediately, lukewarm immediately. So if you're a tea drinker at all, I like to drink my tea this time of year. You don't have to wait for the stove to get the water warm, get the right temperature, steep, the whole 9 yards. You're in and you're out. A great way to do that as well. Also, if you're renting, you don't have to worry about all the drilling and a plumber coming over to install all the pipes. It is the leading reverse osmosis system on the market. Protect what matters most. CovePure.com/RSBN, $250 off right now of the holiday sale. We'll take a quick commercial break for sponsors. Stick with us here on the right side of history.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door. Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. President Trump expected to deliver the Mexican Border Defense Medal. That'll be at the top of the hour. In the meantime, we are joined by our good friend out west. It's Scott Cheney. He is the Senior Portfolio Manager at Monetary Gold. Good to see you, my friend. I'm thrilled by silver. I mean, this thing is a strong asset and it's rising.
It is. Robert, good seeing you. Thanks for having me on your show today. Before we get started into gold and silver, I just want to, my condolences go to the friends and families in Australia right now. Terrible news throughout really the world, it seems like. And my prayers are with them, with their families, even here in the United States with some of the shootings that are going on. My prayers are for this country and around the world. So I wanted to say that before we jumped into the gold and silver market. Obviously, we come in with a heavy heart today, but silver is on the move right now. And when we're looking at gold, gold is at $4,309. It's up $8.74 right now. Silver is really reaching its all-time high. It's very close, $63.56. So we're up $1.60. And any type of movement when it comes to silver, Robert, is exponential. In the last 6 months, we just reached over 70% growth in silver. And when we're looking at it in the last 30 days, 21%. So I've been telling everybody for months now on this show, let's get you some silver. Let's get you some silver. Let's get you some silver. Right now, experts are looking at this. And the narrative, even people are believing that silver is going to be bullish at right around $100 an ounce. This is Investing News Network that stated this long term. Personally, in my opinion, okay, I'm not a financial, legal, or tax advisor, but I could see silver getting a lot more expensive than that this coming year. So a lot of our customers, we're going to mention it again and again and again. They are getting into silver right now. It is a strong asset, and our country right now is running out. So there's a high demand on silver, and we're running out of silver.
Wow, extraordinary to watch all that. And thank you for your kind words, Scott. It does mean the world. As I know that you are a Bible-believing Christian, and that this time of year during Hanukkah and Christmas, we really remember the reason for the season. And monetary gold actually might be that great option for a stocking stuffer if you are a dad out there, a grandparent, and you want to be really nice to the kids if they've been on the nice list rather than the naughty list. But how can people actually liquidate metals in order to diversify some of their portfolio?
Well, it's a really good grandfather or grandmother you got there that'll put gold or silver into your stocking. Really the process though on how it works. First of all, you call that number. I mean, we're live right now. We have a live floor to where there will be specialists, intake specialists answering the phone, going over exactly what we do. We want to understand whether it's cash that you're looking to protect in the bank or whether it's a retirement account, such as a 401k or an IRA. We're going to go through some questions. We want to understand your concerns, whether it's for protection, whether it's for safety, and then really understand and dive into your portfolio. What do you have? Our phones are ringing right now, so I apologize by that. We are live. We're going to go over what exactly you have and what that looks like. And then we're going to see if we could diversify into gold and silver. But those are the two options: cash, transitioned into gold and silver, and then any type of retirement account, such as a 401k or an IRA. Give us a call. What we'll do as well is we look at what you have, and not all gold and silver is created equal. Okay? There's different kinds of gold and silver assets, Robert, and they perform in different ways. So for us, we need a clear understanding of what you're looking to accomplish, whether it's a short-term goal or a long-term goal, so that we could be in a position, one, to educate you, and then help put you in those specific assets that accomplish your goals. That's what the process is. That's what we'll take a look at.
And people can reach out via rsbnforthegold.com, where you get that presidential gold guide. It's complimentary to look at all of these different options. And is there a specific number they should reach out to, Scott, in order to connect with you and your team?
You just reach out at that number below. Call us. Someone will answer live. And I'm going to be, right after this interview, I'm going to go straight to the phones and work with whoever I speak to. You'll get me live, and we could go over what you have and build out a solid portfolio that suits you. So, but yeah, it's something that we strongly believe in right now. Again, the U.S. dollar, our debt, climbing every single day. That doesn't change. And as the dollar gets weaker, gold and silver is a very, not only it's a hedge, but we're seeing growth. And with that being said, both metals, not just silver, both metals have hit lifetime highs just recently. With the central banks buying gold and silver, we have inflation data right now, and the Fed policy really driving up much of that action. And what we're seeing right now, what we expect is that rate cuts. rate cuts will also impact gold and silver, and it actually supports precious metals. So call that number now. We're more than happy to work with you. And again, a very good grandfather or grandmother putting gold or silver in someone's stocking.
Yes, I mean, quite the kindness and the reason for the season with giving. And now, Scott, run us through some of the process and the procedures as well with monetary gold, because people might look at this and, again, be fearing the IRA fees or saying, well, that might be just too much of a cost for me to dive into that. And they might also look at just the other options that are out there. Why choose gold and silver at this time, especially with a great company like yours, Monetary Gold?
Right. Well, let me ask you this. Do you see any better assets right now to be in other than gold and silver right now?
Oh, I think gold and silver are the top of the tops. There's other interesting things, but I think gold and silver are now a necessity.
And I would agree. It's the necessity of stepping away from the dollar and having an asset that holds its value. It holds its value. It's going up as we speak. Every year it seems to be rising. And we have a good hand on it. Again, you could liquidate your metals at any point in time, Robert. So say you're a customer of ours, you go and buy precious metals with us, whether it's gold or whether it's silver, 6 months, a year, 5 years down the road, if you want to go and liquidate those metals, and what I mean by liquidate, if you want to go and sell those metals, we are happy to buy those metals back from you at market value. So as it goes up and you want to liquidate or some type of emergency comes in, no problem. Give us a call. We'll be more than happy to buy those precious metals from you. And the cool news and the great news is that with gold and silver, you could really liquidate it all around the world. It's an asset that is tradable all around the world. And it's a very, very powerful tool. And again, we believe in it here, and we'll take care of the needs that you're looking for.
It's exciting to see. And now I believe gold is either at or just about to surpass the $7,000 an ounce. Have you ever seen gold and silver move this rapidly, Scott?
Not like this. I haven't. We're on it. Gold prices rose to a 7-week high. Things are not slowing down right now. And just with all the news around the world right now, it's so hard to keep up. It seems so challenging to keep up with tariffs and trades and rate cuts and wars, rumors of wars, these shootings that are going on. My heart breaks. It's with a heavy heart that I say that. And the last gentleman that you had on, Brandon, he was a pastor just speaking about what's going on. And was it Nigeria, you said?
Nigeria, yes, sir.
Wow. And Muslims right now are having dreams about Jesus. That's amazing. Praise God for that. And we rely on our Savior and lean on him. It's not our understanding, it's his. And so I know that he protects his children, and he's going to protect us. So
amen. And it's such a beautiful reminder on a difficult day, or even in the midst of the actual biological clock and what God had created in this world, in this universe, that we have longer nights rather than and shorter days right now. But in the midst of that darkness, this festival of lights happening, the first days of Hanukkah taking place leading into the Christmas season, and how grateful we are as people who are so beloved by our God and Savior that he would humble himself and come into this world and take on that human form and truly be 100%. True God and true man. And I am always taken back to that major scene and that story of when the great kings, the wise men, came to present with gold, frankincense, and myrrh to our baby Jesus. But in the meantime, he had those wonderful gifts, but there was no room at the inn. So I think we get this, we look back at history, we look back at these fabled stories, or what we sing to our children and share those Bible stories. and we think all is cozy in there. Well, I don't think it was very cozy leading up to that. It was probably very smelly and being almost in these horse troughs and where lambs would literally feed. And that's the amazing biblical story as we're fed by the word and by his very presence, especially this time of year. He is that sacrificial lamb willing to give of his body, blood, soul, and divinity in the form of Jesus Christ. So we're very grateful for you, Scott, that you bring all of that into what you do on a daily basis as a senior portfolio manager, because I think there's times when people look out at any company and say, well, is the bottom line assets? It's about making money. No, this is more. Monetary Gold truly is a group of people who cares about the customer.
It is. And even you mentioning the story about our Savior, Jesus Christ, I pray that it would never, ever get old to my life. That story, that same story told all around the world would never grow old. So I'm so thankful for where I live and what the Lord is doing in Los Angeles. And I have some amazing, incredible people that surround me in prayer and that love the Lord. And people are actually recognizing me now from your show at church. And it's pretty funny. Hey, you're on RSBN, aren't you? Like, yeah, that's me, the gold guy.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So,
It's always fun, especially if you go and a lectern or you have a moment during the service where you have to present something or even ushering and then the heads kind of turn slightly.
It is.
It's always a wonderful moment, but there's no question you're doing God's work at Monetary Gold. And is there anything you could share with us, Scott, as we go into the holiday seasons, the togetherness and family and friends and faith? That's what it's all about. How can people continue to secure their wealth security, preservation, all through retirement, pensions, everything they worked hard for? Because I think the most staggering statistic, as we've covered so much today, including the central banks buying up gold and silver, the fact that the dollar's lost 40% of its purchasing power in 2 decades. I even watched this video over the weekend. The average median take-home pay for a year for middle-class America, $5,600 in the 50s. Now, many factors, as 75 years later, it is $100,000, and you're considered lower middle class really throughout the country. So we see people, they're putting off marriages, putting off having children, putting off that first property purchasing because of the economy. So gold and silver could really have an effect on all this.
It definitely can. And I want people to get into gold and silver, let it sit and rise, and then 2-3 years down the road, you give us a call and we're doing air high fives over the phone here, because the dollar is getting weaker, just like you mentioned, and it's unbelievable. Do you think that our debt's just going to disappear? The debt is rising. Folks, the writing's on the wall when it comes to this. There are concerns with the US dollar. If the dollar crashes and everyone's tied to this dollar, where does that leave your finances? Where does that leave your funds? I can't promise you what exactly is going to happen, but there is a weakening of the US dollar, and other countries are stepping away from it. So call that number. We're more than happy to help you out. I appreciate it. Robert, as always, God bless you. God bless your show. And I do want to mention this. I know I said, you asked me what my favorite Christmas movie was. And I said, well, we focus on the Passion of the Christ. My mom jumped on me with that one. She said, hey, that's not a Christmas movie. I said, well, to me it is, Mom. To me it is. We celebrate his birth and his death and his resurrection. But I was looking at, obviously, The Grinch Stole Christmas was a huge one growing up. And you know that movie where the kid goes, or someone goes, you'll shoot your eye out, A Christmas Story.
Christmas Story.
Christmas Story.
My brother hates that one, but I love it.
Oh, me too. I love it too. And yeah, hilarious. So those are the two.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you, Scott. Thank you so much for sharing your wonderful company, but also the spirit of the season as we get ready for our Christmas celebrations. It's Scott Cheney. He is the Senior Portfolio Manager of Monetary Gold, RSBN4thegold.com. This is such a special partnership for the network and for Monetary Gold as well. God bless you, and we will see you again very soon on the right side of history.
Thanks so much, Robert. Hey, you have an invite always if you're ever down in California.
Oh, I look forward to it. It's always great on the Golden Coast.
Good. You take care. God bless you.
God bless. Thank you, sir. As we cover the latest from the Trump White House, just minutes from now, President Trump will be specifically handing out awards regarding the border and security and safety on that southern border. That's at 3 o'clock. It's a medal presentation. We'll take you there live. Thank you to Tax Network USA, tnusa.com/RSBN. If you have any back taxes, this is a great way to handle that. Whether you missed April 15th or October 15th, protect yourself from the IRS and settle those today. You could do that. The best way is tnusa.com/RSBN. Again, tnusa.com/RSBN. Wonderful people. They are experts, accountants some have actually worked at the IRS, so they know a thing or two about this, and they're great patriots like you are at home. So they'll be happy to help out with any of those needs. Tax Network USA, it's tnusa.com/RSBN. If you like what you see as the go-to live desk, we're gearing up for rally season 2026. We saw last week in the Poconos with President Trump going on the offensive of sorts, really talking about domestic policy, how $18 trillion coming back in the form of tariffs. We'd be very happy to get a few of those tariff allowances over to RSBN. You can donate by texting RSBN to 801-801 or by going to rsbnetwork.com/donate. There's also a firm address where you can send that check or money order to 1550. That's 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. It's the loveliest village on the plains, and that's Auburn, Alabama, 36830. Again, that address 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. rsbnetwork.com/donate. RSBN is the text to 801-801. Thank you so much for supporting us on the right side of history as we continue to attempt to make America great again. Those images that you're seeing from last year, it's going to be happening just months, weeks from now, literally days as we get ready for 2026. Thank you to mypillow.com/RSBN with the latest Republican gubernatorial candidate. Yes, his name is Mike Lindell. You might know him. Merry Christmas from MyPillow, as you can save up to 80% this holiday season. Mike was just at the White House with President Trump, and President Trump has often called him the master marketer. With over 2,000 different options, get a stocking stuffer or two with the MyPillow 1.0, the MyPillow 2.0 to My Coffee, one of my favorites out there for free and fair trade coffee. How about those My Slippers? Your spouse will love it. I'm telling you, it is a great gift for anyone in the family. Support Mike Lindell and Right Side Broadcasting Network by visiting mypillow.com/RSBN and shop with code RSBN. 80% off, a big 80 for the holiday season. Of course, everything made here in the good old US of A with some of the highest quality products from around the world. It's mypillow.com/RSBN as we celebrate this Christmas season and touch on some of the more serious matters happening in America and around the world. President Trump expected to deliver the Mexican Border Defense Medal presentation at 3 o'clock Eastern just moments from now. There is a live shot outside of the White House where press gaggle can happen. If you wonder, those green tarps right there, that's what they call Pebble Beach. And our media and colleagues, they're waiting for any sort of press gaggle to press briefings by the superstar Caroline Leavitt or any breaking news right there from the White House. And we know that many cabinet officials over the course of these nearly 11 months back in office have stopped on by, from Border Czar Tom Homan to Secretary Kennedy of HHS. I know that the Attorney General Pam Bondi addressing from that podium there outside of the door of the West Wing on countless occasions, among others, including Howard Lutnick, talking about making America healthy again, making America wealthy again, and ultimately making America great again in what is a lead up to the golden era of this country, nearly 250 years young. As we welcome Nicholas DeMauro, he's a former New Jersey detective and CEO for Law Enforcement Against Drugs and Violence. Nick, how can we break down the terrible violence that has taken place in Australia to Savannah, Georgia, with the acid attack up to New York City? So much of this driven by either political ideology, racism, or simply mental illness, as the alleged killer of Rob Reiner and his wife is their very own son. How are we to address these crises in 2025 going into the new year?
We have to address it with compassion and common sense initiatives. We have to get back to being a common sense society where we're out with strict laws, protective initiatives, and compassion. And we have to look at things a little more objectively. I think we're being a little too far left. I'm sorry, I don't want to get political here, but I think we have to get back to common sense policies in this country.
Oh, I understand it. It makes a lot of sense because if you look back to even my lifetime, the shooting like Columbine, for example, many of these mass shooters or those who have gone to extreme forms of violence had many red flags or many warnings that people either ignored or simply refused to address in the community. And then looking onto that as well, the anti-Semitism out there, the racism, whatever it might lead to, it seems to be on that left side of history, as you're right. J.D. Vance, the vice president, mentioning relatively recently that as much as he appreciated the Reagan administration, the one failure was getting rid of the insane asylum. So besides ideology and looking at something like if it quacks like a duck, if it walks like a duck, it's a duck, being focused on that law enforcement lens that you have, should we bring back insane asylum? Should we really focus on putting people away so that they won't harm other people?
Yes, I think you need to. I think the problem is, I just got into this debate with a reporter on Sirius Radio. They're blaming the cops. It's not the cops. The cops are actually handcuffed by these far left laws and policies that are really killing them. It's not police. The police, I'm glad. I was talking with my an ex-colleague of mine the other day, and I said, you know what? I am so happy that I'm not a policeman anymore. Think about it. You got to walk around with a body camera, right? Mm-hmm. You got policies and procedures where someone sitting in an office in a state capitol has told you how you need to react when you go to a house at 3:00 in the morning in the middle of a small town. Okay, instead of we used to go to domestics where you separate the two combatants, you try to get people safe. Now there's laws written. Well, if they do this, you got to do that. If you do this, you got to do that. And God forbid you don't do it. The next thing you do is you're going to get sued. So they've handcuffed law enforcement. And, being the leader of the fastest growing drug and violence prevention law enforcement charity in the country, we have to protect our cops. And I think that we're handcuffing the cops that are basically hurting America. And that's what's happening out there.
There's no question about it. I was amazed by even Black Lives Matter when they were on really a rampage, and I'm not afraid to use that terminology, back in 2020, and the actual riots that were taking place in these cities. They were going against the police unions, the very structure of protecting our police officers in what's a job that you put the uniform on and you're willing to lay down your life for your friend. It's an amazing vocation. And I think we need to find more politicians or perhaps elect people either who have done the role or at least are humble enough to say, I don't know everything. I'm actually going to go talk to the experts so we can make a more just society. Now, Nick, do you believe that social media might be attributing to any of this, from maybe a desensitization to also, have we always been this violent as a society and it's just more shared now because of the 24/7 news cycle?
Well, let's be honest. On social media, everybody's got an opinion, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And everyone's going to say what they believe in and not look at what the ramifications are for those thoughts. And it fuels situations, and it's unfortunate.
We live in a different world. Hey, when I first became a law enforcement officer, the most comprehensive thing we had was a pager, right? Now we have video cameras. We have 24 hours, phone service. You can talk wherever you want. I am on a national television show with my phone in my hand, right? So it's the world we live in, and we have to accept it. But we have to get back to being a centrist country. There's no way around it. We have to be pro law enforcement, pro safety, and keeping people safe. And law enforcement are here to serve their communities. They're the first responders. I mean, you talk about terrorism and in America and all this kind of stuff. It happens. The first responder at any terroristic account is a local police officer. And we have to give them the tools and the laws to protect them.
Yes, it's common sense. Nicholas Tomorrow, thank you for joining us. Former New Jersey detective and the CEO of the Law Enforcement Against Drugs and Violence. Come see us again on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and a very Merry Christmas to you, sir, in case I don't get to talk to you beforehand.
Merry Christmas, and let's have it for everyone out there.
Amen. I love it. Thank you, sir.
Take care, sir. Bye-bye.
And we are getting ready for President Trump just moments from now. Stick with us here on the right side of history as we watch people like Nick, great warriors out there who deeply love this country, willing to put on that uniform. President Trump delivering the Mexican Border Defense Medal at the top of the hour. In the meantime, we'll take a quick commercial break for sponsors prior to and get you to the White House as soon as possible.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door. Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. It is the 3 o'clock hour. We're awaiting President Trump, and we'll take you there right when that happens. President Trump taking to Truth Social, commenting on the recent events with Number One, and commenting on the untimely passing of producer, actor, and a Hollywood icon, Rob Reiner, saying a very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away together with his wife, Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness. And with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before, may Rob and Michelle rest in peace. And a tragic story, as it looks as if their son had committed this terrible homicide. Alleged right now he has been arrested. He is in the custody of the authorities. And regardless of political ideology, a terrible event to have happened. As someone who really was a Hollywood icon, and with productions and films like A Few Good Men, he had inspired people from right, left, and center when it came to the arts, and someone who had a deep friendship as well with Billy Crystal, among others. So a very sad day for the American journey. Entertainment's a big part of who we are. A big consumption of Hollywood is seen overseas as well. So a very sad day here in America, with number 2, President Trump showing what gives a little bit light to the holiday season, the new mirror that is out on the colonnade. They call it the 45-second walk from the residence to the Oval Office. But President Trump also mentioning, while the great art laugher Ronald Reagan's economic whiz and highly respected by all, said in a speech last night, Donald Trump is the greatest president in history, bar none. Such an honor coming from a man of such wisdom. Also saying that tariffs are working in a big way. Our country is rich and admired again. And Art Laffer, really the architect in so many ways of Reaganomics and the deregulations that took place during the 80s to unleash an economy unlike any other. And we have Secretary Scott Bessent saying, hold tight for 2026 because this economy is going to roar like never before. And President Trump also stating with Syria and the situation that took place with cut number 3, we are mourning the losses of 3 great Americans over in Syria. 2 soldiers, great patriots, 1 civilian interpreter. And likewise, we pray for these 3 injured soldiers who, it has just been confirmed, are doing well. This was an ISIS attack against the United States and Syria in a very dangerous part of Syria that is not fully controlled by them. The president of Syria, Ahmed al-Shara, is extremely angry and disturbed by this attack, and there will be serious retaliation. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Signed, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. And I believe we have video playback from those comments, as well as President Trump attending the 126th playing of the Army-Navy game, which was a star-studded event. Featuring President Trump also on the field doing the coin toss to Secretary Hegseth on hand to spend time with the Army and the Navy, and also Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, as well as the true superstars, our Army cadets, our Navy midshipmen, and their jerseys designed to honor the 250th anniversaries of both beginning before we were a country in 1775 to defend this young, small, but mighty nation against the world's foremost incredible military and Navy at the time. We really, in many ways, should not have been successful in the revolution, but God behind this great nation and gave birth to liberty nearly 250 years ago in a struggle that was incredibly mighty. Now the Navy midshipmen featuring jerseys that actually had old Ironside to showcase that famous ship, as well as the first ships of the Navy dating back to the late 18th century, as well as the cadets wearing that silver insignia and celebrating those 250 years as America's Army. But we do also have President Trump on the way from Marine One on the South Lawn to that game played in Baltimore, Maryland, which was a doozy, a very close one of the best games this year, as Army was able to top the midshipmen by a score of 17-16. So a nail-biter for sure. President Trump, though, speaking about the Syria situation en route to that game.
So we mourn the loss of 3 great patriots in Syria. You know how it happened. It was an ambush, terrible. We also have 3 wounded. They seem to be doing pretty well. But we mourn the loss. These are 3 great people. And it's just a terrible thing. Syria, by the way, was fighting along with us. The new president of Syria has they told me, and I'm not surprised, he's devastated by what happened. This was an ISIS attack on us and Syria. And again, we mourn the loss, and we pray for them and their parents and their loved ones. Very, very sad.
Mr. President, will the U.S. retaliate against ISIS?
Yeah, we will.
And will the U.S. further attack again?
You're going to be seeing.
And should the U.S. still be
We will retaliate. Thank you very much.
Thank you to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. So much togetherness in this sacred and cherished time of the year to celebrate Hanukkah and Christmas. Make sure for your stocking stuffer you include taking care of you and yours in your household. You can stock up on Tamiflu, antibiotics, antivirals, ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, NAD+, methylene blue, and much, much more with code RSBN10. That's RSBN10. Make sure that you don't have the sickness during the holiday season, because it is also cold and flu season. In addition to Tamiflu, we heard last week from the great Michael Kunzler, co-owner of this fine company, really your leading online pharmacy for off-label generics at Tamiflu. Very hard to get in January and February when the flu really spikes. So good to think ahead and make this part of your Christmas shopping at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. 10% off your must-haves, the medications that can be life-saving this season. You can also take these on the road with you. So there's no red tape, no bureaucracy. And whether you're traveling by plane, train, or automobile, you have an option to have this all reviewed by a licensed U.S. doctor, sent to your door in a matter of days, and it's all cost effective. Many pharmacies, they won't prescribe things like ivermectin, so you might as well stock up on these very life-saving medications. Over 300, in fact, including emergency medical kits. RSBN 10 is the code, RSBN 10 for 10% off now. Scan that QR code and visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. And when your health is in order, make sure your wealth is in order with security and preservations at Monetary Gold. Call today. Do not delay. It's 888-617-7994. You heard the phones ringing. We were interviewing Mr. Scott Cheney earlier in the broadcast. He's a senior portfolio manager for this fine company. Grab that complimentary presidential gold guide today, rsbnforthegold.com. When you call, ask Scott how you can eliminate those annual IRA fees permanently and for life. If you qualify as well, his team can help run you through all of these amazing options, because no two plans fit the same shoe. Whether it's buying your first property, second property, or even creating generational wealth. Heck, this is even a great stocking stuffer if you're feeling very generous as a great granddad, a granddad, or anywhere in between for your family, for that independence and financial freedom, that American dream lived out. Gold and silver, really not a luxury anymore, but mandatory, I would say, because it's the best way to diversify everything you worked hard for, from retirement to your savings and also those pensions, everything that matters to create that financial freedom. We know that the dollar has gone down in purchasing power by 40% in the last 2 decades, and central banks around the world, including right here in America, buying up gold and silver, with gold surpassing that $7,000 an ounce mark, rising faster than it ever has. Silver not far behind with $60 an ounce. RSBNforthegold.com. With BRICS nations divesting from the American dollar, smart to think about how we can really make sure that our wealth goes further nowadays in 2025 America. With, if you're making $100,000, think about this, you're considered in the lower middle class onslaught as you look around the country. So an important thing to think about as you get ready for your holiday season. RSBNforthegold.com. We are moments away from President Trump to present this medal on the Mexican border defense, and that's right now. So we look forward to all of that once we get word from the White House and Color Bars. We will take you on there for those live updates. And I really hope you've been able to, if you are in Washington, D.C., get a chance to enjoy the galas and the balls that happen at the White House during this time of year, and President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump opening the doors of the White House, welcoming countless people through the halls of perhaps the most famous executive mansion in the United States of America. And that's usually coined with not only great food and drink and beautiful music from the United States Marine Corps Band, the president's very own, but you'll see nativity scenes. You see the green themes. President Trump mentioning that it was 1 year it was white, 1 year it was red. He goes, this green is fantastic. And then the First Lady also mentioning that maybe he can take it over next year. Of course, somewhat of a joke and a slight, as President Trump's been working overtime on so many things, including that wall of fame of presidents that's out there on the colonnade from the 45-second walk from the residence over to the Oval Office and right outside the West Wing, and that new mirror that's been installed just outside of the 47th Commander-in-Chief's portrait. But all 47 of them along the wall there, and the auto pen, of course, in between number 45 and 47. Very proud of that new display, and he most recently showed that to the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia. So this president has maximized as much as he can, whether it's $18 trillion of tariffs coming into the United States or being that peace through strength president, the peace president, the commander-in-chief that has gone around the world, whether it's in the Middle East and the Gulf states to the Indo-Pacific trip or to Europe, to really export American democracy through dialogue, through discussion, through working it out with the world and really giving them the art of the deal type of presidency with America First policies, stressing that if we're able to do business, if we're able to trade and really give, as Hemingway put it, a farewell to arms, perhaps we can make the world safer and stronger than ever before as we await this defense medal presentation just moments from now. We'll take a quick commercial break here at Right Side Broadcasting Network for sponsors. Stick with us here. Don't change that channel. You're on the right side of history.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door. And we'll go to President Trump at the White House.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We had a very good conversation 1 hour ago with the European leaders, many of them involving the war with Russia and Ukraine. We had a long discussion
and things are seemingly going well, but we've been saying that for a long time, and it's a difficult one. We had, as you know, settled 8 wars, and one was having a little problem yesterday, Thailand and Cambodia. We were able to straighten that out. There was some killing going on that shouldn't have happened, and we appreciate them working to get it straightened out, and they have. The security protocols yesterday were amazing, and they have been amazing, having to do with Russia and Ukraine. And I had a long talk with President Zelensky. Also, I spoke with the heads of Germany, Italy, NATO, Finland, France, the United Kingdom, Poland, Norway, Denmark, and the Netherlands. We had very long and very good talks. And again, I think things are going along pretty well. 27,000 soldiers were killed last month. It shouldn't happen. Should have never happened. Should have never started. That war should have never, ever started. But it did, and we're trying to get it solved. That was Biden's situation. We're trying to get it done. And I think we're closer now, and they will tell you that they're closer now. We had numerous conversations with President Putin of Russia, and I think we're closer now than we have been ever. And we'll see what we can do. We want to save a lot of lives. We sell equipment to NATO. We don't spend any money, but we do want to see if we can save a lot of lives. When you're losing 25,000 to 30,000 soldiers, mostly soldiers, other people too, from towns, and like places like Kiev, various other places throughout Ukraine, it's pretty bad. Nobody's seen anything like it, actually, since World War II. But we're getting closer. We're having tremendous support from European leaders. They want to get it ended also. And at this moment, Russia wants to get it ended. The problem is they'll want to get it ended, and then all of a sudden they won't. And Ukraine will want to get it ended, and all of a sudden they won't. So we have to get them on the same page. But I think that's working along. Very good talk. On day one of my administration, I signed an executive order making it core mission of the United States military to protect and defend the homeland. And today, we're here to honor our military men and women for their central role in the protection of our border, something that I campaigned very, very strongly on. And they made me look really good. They were unbelievable. They made us all look good. I mean, we went from having millions of people pouring over our border to having none in the last 8 months, none. In a few moments, we'll officially recognize their service by awarding them the Mexican Border Defense Medal, which is a big deal. We're joined for this occasion by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Attorney General Pam Bondi, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Dan Kane, Commander of U.S. Northern Command, General Gregory Gio, Commander of the Southern Border Task Force, Major General Scott Noman, Command Sergeant Major Brett Johnson of the U.S. Army's 10th Mountain Division, Administrator of the Drug Enforcement Agency, Terry Cole, and many other members of our administration who have done an incredible job on the border. You know, people forget now that the border has been secure for actually 7 months, think of it, more. And they don't mention the border anymore. Nobody talks about the border. They talk about affordability, and we're the ones that are bringing the prices down. We were given the worst inflation in our country's history, and we're bringing the prices down. But the affordability is on the Democrats because they have made it unaffordable to be in this country. But we're bringing those prices down, and they're coming down quickly. Energy is coming way down, and if you look, gasoline prices are hitting in many locations $1.99 a gallon. Nobody thought they'd see that. There were $4, $5, and $6 a gallon under Biden. In the 4 years before I took office, our southern border was surrendered to criminals, drug cartels, human traffickers, and child smugglers. Our entire southwest border on the Mexican side is under the physical control of cartels that are among the most violent entities nobody's ever seen anywhere on the planet, the most violent people on the planet. Remember when the Democrats and others, the radical left, used to say that the people they're allowing into our country, immigrants, are nice people. They're not violent like our people. Well, they make our people look like babies. These are some of the most violent criminals anywhere on earth from many countries, not just Venezuela. Venezuela emptied their jails into our country, but others have also. The Congo has. So many other countries have. And we don't put up with it. I have to say the drugs coming in by sea are down 94%. And we're trying to figure out who the other 6% are. But they're down 94%, and we're going to start hitting them on land, which is a lot easier to do, frankly. But these are a direct military threat to the United States of America. They're trying to drug out our country. And you can look throughout history. Look at China when they were loaded up with drugs. They were suffering greatly, and others were able to take them over. And other countries also. They're trying to drug out our country, and we're reversing it rapidly, actually. But with the help of our great service members, we've stopped the invasion in its tracks, and we're dismantling the cartels very rapidly. And they are being declared enemies of the United States of America. They have been so declared, legally declared. More than 25,000 warriors have served in this historic operation. It is indeed an incredible and historic operation. And we've never done anything so effectively, and we've had a lot of victories. They've spent night and day enduring scorching hot and bitter cold, and they've given up their holidays and their weekends working with the officers of Customs and Border Protection. Our armed forces have already conducted nearly 13,000 patrols along the border. And today we give these great warriors the recognition that they have earned, and they have really earned it. The military component of our border security efforts is just the beginning. We're also designating the drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, a big deal from a legal standpoint and military standpoint. We've ended catch and release, and we endured and ensured that anyone who sets foot across our border illegally is intercepted, arrested, and immediately deported, or if they're really bad, they're put into prison because we don't want to ever take a chance if they come back. As a result, illegal border crossings have plummeted to the lowest level ever recorded in the history of our country. Think of that. The history of our country. You can all be very proud. For the past 7 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States of America. We inherited the worst border in the history of our country, one of the worst borders, I would say, in the world. I can't imagine any border in the world being worse when they allowed 25 million people to come in. And again, many of these people are gang members and from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums. And some of the worst people on earth they allowed to come into our country. We're getting a lot of them out. We've made a big dent. And the self-deportation is something nobody talks about, but literally millions of people are self-deporting because they don't want to be captured. Once they're captured, they don't have the chance to self-deport. They never have the chance to come back into our country. We inherited that border from an incompetent administration and turned it into the strongest border in the history of our country. So we took the worst border in the history of our country, and in a period of 2 months, we turned it into the strongest border in the history of our country. During this time, we've also achieved a 50% drop in the amount of fentanyl coming across the border, and China's working with us very closely on bringing down the number and the amount of fentanyl that's being shipped. You know, fentanyl is very bad when you mix it with certain ingredients, but it also is very important for medicine, for anesthesias, various other things. I want people to understand that. It's not made necessarily for bad. When it's mixed with certain things, it becomes bad. And that's what's taking place in Mexico. And we've got it down to a much lower number, not satisfactory, but it will be satisfactory soon. In May, we executed the largest fentanyl bust in the history of the U.S., seizing 3 million fentanyl pills all at one time. Think of that, 3 million pills. It's amounted to billions of dollars worth of drugs. And last month we seized another 1.7 million fentanyl pills in the state of Colorado, the poorly run state of Colorado, with a governor who's incompetent, and frankly with a governor that won't allow our wonderful Tina to come out of a jail, in a high-intensity jail, because she caught people cheating on an election, and they said she was cheating. She wasn't cheating. She went over, she looked at one of the election scams going on, and because she did that, they put her in jail for 9 years. The governor of Colorado is a weak and pathetic man who was run by Tren de Aragua, the criminals from Venezuela, took over sections of Colorado, and he was afraid to do anything. But he puts Tina in jail for 9 years because she caught people cheating. And when she walked over and got involved in it, they said she was cheating. She wasn't cheating. She caught people cheating on the election, 2020, along with a lot of other people that cheated on that election. You'll see that coming out more and more. But there's no doubt that America's adversaries are trafficking fentanyl into the United States, in part because they want to kill Americans. If this were a war, that would be one of the worst wars. I believe they killed, over the last 5 or 6 years, per year, 200 to 300,000 people. You hear about 100,000, which is a lot of people, but the number's much higher than that. That's been proven. And they've destroyed a lot of families. Because when they lose a child, or even if their child is heavily addicted, you lose that family. The family will never be the same. That's why today I'm taking one more step to protect Americans from the scourge of deadly fentanyl flooding into our country. With this historic executive order I will sign today, we're formally classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction, which is what it is. No bomb does what this is doing. 200 to 300,000 people die every year that we know of. So we're formally classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. But before I sign the fentanyl order, we will pin these great service members with their medals. And here today are the first 13 warriors who will receive the Mexican Border Defense Medal, which is a big deal. First, I'd like to ask Secretary Hegseth and Chairman Kane to say a few words. I'd like to have Tom Homan come up, please, if you would, say a few words. And I want to thank all of the people, Pam and everybody, Stephen Miller, the great Stephen Miller, what a job he's doing, for being here. Thank you both. Appreciate it very much. We have so many great people here. But I do want to ask Tom to say a few words also. So, Pete, why don't you start it off, please? Thank you.
Mr. President, thank you. I would echo what you said. This has been a team effort from the beginning. Tom Homan, Terry Cole, Stephen Miller, Pam Bondi, Christy Nome, Customs and Border Patrol, Protection. It has been one team, one mission to get 100% operational control of the southern border. You want to talk about America First, peace through strength and common sense? It all manifests in one basic phrase down there. Border security is national security. And we had the task of 100% control, and because of these men and women back here, we've achieved that. Nobody is crossing the southern border. And I want to give a big shout out to our Northern Command, General Guillot. From day one, they said, our department didn't look at the border this way before you. Joe Biden allowed an invasion of this country. Tens of millions of people, drugs, gangs, violence, and the military jumped to it on day one with our partners. Ultimately, it was incredible Americans. There's 13 up here with us today. They all represent about 2,000 people who've served at the border so far. So 25,000 Americans qualify for this Mexican National Defense Border Medal that we're announcing today. And what's cool about this medal, it was actually first given out in 1918. So we're reviving an old medal that existed, was given to men and women who defended the southern border. We found out about it. We used the exact same foundry with the exact same imagery, same color, same medal, same everything. So our men and women will be wearing that very same medal as Americans 100 years before who were asked to defend the sovereignty of our country. President Trump was elected to do that. You have done that, Mr. President. We're proud of this mission. We're proud to defend the American people. And pinning these medals on is an example of how important it is to us. So thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate it.
Well, Mr. President, Mr. Secretary, I want to echo your thanks and gratitude for the Joint Force. I also want to highlight General Gio, General Nauman, and Command Sergeant Major Johnson, also leaders at every level that came together, not just in our Joint Force, but in the interagency. And I want to specifically highlight our Border Patrol teammates and our Office of Air and Marine teammates who, when I went down to the southern border and visited, were right there next to the Joint Force. I also want to thank not just these 13 individuals, but the Joint Force that was also down there and your families who poured in to make this deployment possible on the southern border. And of course, this time of the year, I'm always thinking about our currently deployed forces who are out there around the world doing our nation's business, and of course our fallen and their families who show us what courage and tenacity really are as they move forward after the loss of a service member. So thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Tom, please.
You know, it's always an honor for me to be in the Oval Office with the greatest president of my lifetime. Yes, I said it, and I meant it. You know, I just got home last night. I toured the border in California, Arizona, and Texas. I did it in four-wheel drive. I did it on the river. I did it from the air. Hundreds upon hundreds of miles of border. I didn't see one illegal alien. Not a single one. I've done this since 1984. I worked for 6 different presidents. No one has done more than President Trump. What he has done is gave us the most secure border in the history of this nation. Hard to stop. I went to hundreds of miles of border and didn't see one illegal alien. Incredible, considering the Biden administration, we had 10, 12,000 a day, most released in the United States. I'm proud to be with these patriots behind me. I'm already proud to be in the Oval Office of the President, but being with these heroes, I met some of these soldiers down on the border. And actually, a shout out to Fort Drum, New York. We got some 10th Mountain Division here, so Elise Stefanik, Claudia Tennant, we all love Fort Drum and the 10th Mountain. So look, this is a game changer. I want to make something perfectly clear. Because we get attacked all the time being inhumane. The Biden administration is much more humane. It's a bunch of crap. Because there's been studies done that 31% of women that make that journey through the cartels get sexually assaulted. They get raped. And not just the women, children too. I've done numerous investigations in that. Sex trafficking was at historic highs with that open border. Fentanyl, historic highs that killed 250,000 Americans. No inspector terrorists that came across the border. Record, historic. What happened under the Biden administration was the most inhumane thing I've seen in my lifetime. Now that the border is 96% decline, 96% less people are coming, how many women aren't being raped? How many children aren't dying making that journey? How many women and children aren't being sex trafficked into this country every day? How many known suspected terrorists aren't just walking across that border? President Trump and this administration is saving thousands of lives every month. Hard stop. That's just a stone cold fact. I'm just proud to be a part of this. I work with Steve Miller every day. Steve Miller is one of the most brilliant people I've met in my entire life. President Trump brought together one hell of a team here, and the success proves. We all working together, one team, one fight. We're not done yet. We're going to keep going, and I guarantee you we're going to continue saving thousands and thousands of lives. Secure border means strong national security. Secure border saves lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, let's do the medals, and I'll be signing this. Maybe you'll do the medals first, and then I'll sign it, okay? Please. Nice medal. It's not bad. That's a great job. Thank you, Mr. That's great. Thank you. Great job. Great job, fellas. Thank you, Mr. President. No auto pen. None, ever. We don't like auto pens, right? We don't like auto pens. How about gathering around me and we'll hold this up. Congratulations. It's an amazing job. Come on around. Come on around. Let's take a good picture. Fantastic job. You guys, fantastic job. Thank you very much. Great job.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Great job. What you've done is unprecedented. How about holding that up? You guys hold it up. Nice. Hold it up high. You deserve it more than me. So I'm going to give you another medal, though, that may be more beautiful. I'm not sure it means as much, but it's really good, okay? This is gun medal. This is the one the military loves. So we're going to start, okay? Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, dear. Here you go.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President.
It's pretty nice. Want to compare it? Let me see, compare it. Let me see how that looks. I don't know. That looks pretty good.
Thank you, Mr. President.
But that means something very special.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. President.
You can, what you can do, tie it around your neck. Just get a nice ribbon. I think you'll like it. It's special. We don't give them to many people.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President.
Come on over here. Come there. Look at this guy.
It's the man to be at half.
That's 4 sides up big. That means a lot up there. Hey, General, come on over here, even though you have one. I gave him one. No, this general right here, General Raising Cane. He's a great general. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's an honor. This is a fantastic moment. I haven't done this before. And the job they've done on the border is unthinkable. What they left us with, that they would have open borders with millions of people, 25 million people, probably more than that, pouring into our border, totally unchecked and unvetted. Now we have the opposite. And we want people in our country, but they have to come in legally. And they know that, and they know they're not getting through, so now they don't even try. So all of the death that Tom Holman talked about, the rape and the death and all the problem, doesn't really happen because the caravans, a name I think I came up with, maybe not, but the caravans are very small. In fact, for the most part, they don't even exist anymore because they know they're not going to get through. In a little while, you'll be seeing I'm suing the BBC for putting words in my mouth, literally. They put words in my mouth. They had me saying things that I never said coming out. I guess they used AI or something. So we'll be bringing that lawsuit. A lot of people are asking, when are you bringing that lawsuit? Even the media can't believe that one. They actually put terrible words in my mouth having to do with January 6th that I didn't say. And the beautiful words that I said, right? The beautiful words, talking about patriotism and all of the good things that I said, they didn't say that, but they put terrible words. They actually have me speaking with words that I never said, and they got caught because I believe somebody at BBC said, this is so bad, it has to be reported. That's called fake news. So we'll be filing that suit probably this afternoon or tomorrow morning. I want to thank all of you for being here. If you have any questions, I guess you could ask, but this is really a day of celebration for these people. The job they've done is really unprecedented. So go ahead.
Brown University, Mr. President. Do you know what the motive of the shooter was? Was it
No, we
a
don't.
targeted
No,
attack?
that's moving along now, and we don't. And we're going to see what happens. Hopefully, they're going to capture this animal. Hopefully, they're going to capture it.
Has Kash Patel told you why it's been so difficult for the FBI to identify who the shooter is?
Well, it's always difficult. So far, we've done a very good job of doing it with Charlie, with the various times this has happened. They've done it in pretty much record time. But you really have to ask the school a little bit more about that, because this was a school problem. They had their own guards, they had their own police, they had their own everything. But you'd have to ask that question really to the school, not to the FBI. We came in after the fact, and the FBI will do a good job, but they came in after the fact.
Do you know if it was targeted, Mr. President?
No, they don't know that yet, no.
Sir, on the issue of drugs, is it accurate that you are considering an executive order to reclassify marijuana under the control?
We are considering that, yeah.
Are you planning?
Because a lot of people want to see it, the reclassification, because it leads to tremendous amounts of research that can't be done unless you reclassify. So we are looking at that very strongly.
Mr. President?
Mr. President,
Katie?
is it true that the reports that you rebuked the Israeli Prime Minister, are the reports that you rebuked the Israeli Prime Minister for the hit on the Hamas general true? And is Israel undermining your efforts to be a peacemaker?
No, Israel and I have gotten along very well. My relationship with Bibi Netanyahu has been obviously a very good one. Look, we took out Iran. We wiped out, with that plane right there, we wiped out the B-2 bomber. We wiped out the Iran nuclear threat. And because of that, we were able to make peace in the Middle East. No, we've had a very good relationship with Israel. We actually have a very good relationship with just about everybody in the Middle East.
But was that a violation of the ceasefire, the strike on the Hamas general?
We're going to have to see. We're looking into that. Yeah, we'll look into it.
On the Syria ambush of U.S. forces, do you still have confidence in the Syrian president?
I do. I mean, this had nothing to do with him. This is a part of Syria that they really don't have much control over. And it was a surprise. He feels very badly about it. He's working on it. He's a strong man. And no, this had nothing to do with the Syrian government. This had to do with ISIS.
What will the U.S. response be?
As a response, they'll be hit hard, yeah.
Javier Negre, Real America's Voice on Español. First of all, thanks for honoring these heroes. The communists have lost Chile. The pro-Trump candidate, José Antonio Caz, won the elections. Do you think this right-wing wave in the Spanish world is due to your influence?
Well, we just had a good one in Honduras, as you know. Had a great election there. I endorsed somebody that was not leading, and he won the election. And we had a good one just a couple of hours ago. I found out in Chile, the person I endorsed, who was not leading, ended up winning quite easily. So I look forward to paying my respects to him. I hear he's a very good person. Yeah.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. This year you fired Democrats from a number of federal agencies, and now going into 2026, there are some key regulators like the SEC, the CFTC that are going to have 0 Democrats. Do you plan to appoint Democrats to fill those empty spots, or do you think that federal agencies shouldn't have Democrat commissioners?
Well, do you think they would be appointing Republicans if it were up to them? So, we'll look at it. Look, we want to be fair, but typically they're not appointing Republicans. So you're asking me the question whether or not I'd appoint Democrats. But there are certain areas that we do look at, and there are certain areas that we do share power. And I'm open to that, please.
Mr. President, a number of Republicans have denounced your statement on Truth Social after the murder of Rob Reiner. Do you stand by that post?
Well, I wasn't a fan of his at all. He was a deranged person as far as Trump is concerned. He said he knew it was false. In fact, it's the exact opposite, that I was a friend of Russia, controlled by Russia. It was the Russia hoax. He was one of the people behind it. I think he hurt himself in career-wise. So he became like a deranged person, Trump derangement syndrome. So I was not a fan of Rob Reiner at all in any way, shape, or form. I thought he was very bad for our country, yeah.
Blue slips, Mr. President. Leader Thune doesn't seem like he wants to get rid of blue slips. Will there be consequences for the Senate if they
Well, I think they should get rid of blue slips because as a Republican president, I am unable to put anybody in office having to do with U.S. attorneys or having to do with judges. In other words, if you have one, not two, you don't need two, just one. If you have one Democrat senator, where we have a lot of them, you have one Democrat senator in a state, it is not possible to appoint, because of blue slips, a judge. It's not possible to appoint a U.S. attorney. You see that happening. And I think it's a disgrace. I think blue slips are a disgrace. They've long since, they should not be relevant anymore. This is a different world than it was 15, 20 years ago. You know, that was a gentleman and gentlewoman world. This is a little bit different, unfortunately. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, what do you want to see Congress do this week as it relates to health care and the expiring ACA?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd like to see the people get the money. I'd like to see all of the money that's going to the Democrat insurance companies. You know, the insurance companies are making a fortune. They're up 1,700% and more. And they're taking in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars, even trillions of dollars. And Obamacare gives you terrible health care. Just so you understand, Obamacare was set up, and I said it right from the beginning, for the benefit of the health insurance companies, of the insurance companies. They're making billions and billions of dollars. Their stock is through the roof. I don't want to give them anything. I want all money going to the people and let the people buy their own health care. It'll be unbelievable. They'll do a great job. They'll get much better health care at a much lower cost.
Would you like Republicans next year to just use reconciliation to do with health care exactly what you laid out, and they wouldn't have to worry about Democratic votes?
Well, that or knock out the filibuster. If you knocked out the filibuster, it would all go away. But we have a few people that wouldn't do that. It's crazy. Look, we should knock out the filibuster. And if you did that, we'd get voter ID. You'd have no mail-in voting, all things that make our elections dishonest. And you'd get a lot of other things having not even to do with voting. But Republicans should knock out the filibuster, and we should approve a lot of things. You wouldn't have January 30th looming because, you know, you have the 30th of January looming. You know that, right? And if we knocked out the filibuster, it would be just a simple approval. But you have some Republicans that they're unable to explain why. You know, if you ask them why, they're unable to explain it. They cannot win the debate. But they should knock out the filibuster. And frankly, they should get rid of the blue slips, too. Yeah.
Mr. President, the Democrats won Miami, where you won the election 1 year ago. Do you think it's because of the Hispanic media like Telemundo that are publishing fake news about the ICE operations? How do you plan to win back those votes for midterms?
Yeah, well, I won that whole election. And, you know, it's interesting. When I'm not running, we don't do as well. And I'm going to try and get that changed for the midterms. But we did have a big win in Tennessee, as you know. Matt Van Epps had a big win in Tennessee against a very strong candidate, attractive candidate, who a lot of people thought would do very well. And Matt won by a lot. And I won Tennessee by a real lot. You know, we had a great election. We won every single swing state. We won the popular vote. We won everything. And there's a thing that they have now, districts, which is a big deal. I think in a way it's the most important stat from the standpoint of, you know, looking at numbers accurately. So out of thousands of districts, I won 2,750 versus 525. Think of that, 2,750 versus 525. It was great. That's why the map, when you see a map of the election, it's all red other than two little narrow lines on the other side. Please.
Sir, Jimmy Lai was convicted today in Hong Kong. Do you have any reactions?
I feel so badly. I spoke to President Xi about it, and I asked to consider his release. He's not well. He's an older man, and he's not well. So I did put that request out. We'll see what happens. Okay? Yeah, please, Katie.
Question about Ukraine. Now that the meetings in Berlin have wrapped up with Zelensky, is there a timetable for going to Moscow? Is a delegation going?
Well, I think that the delegation is largely there right now, actually. They're in Europe, and they met with those people that I called out before, the various countries, plus some others. They want to see it end, Katie. They want to see it end. They all. I want to see it end. They want to see it end. I actually think that President Putin wants to see it end. You know, I've had good talks. We've had good talks with Russia, and I think they'd like to get back to a more normal way of life.
Mr. President, follow up there. An Article 5 deal seems to be emerging without NATO membership for Ukraine. If such a security guarantee is offered, what incentive is there for Ukraine to give up any sort of territory?
Well, look, you have, they've already lost the territory, to be honest. I mean, the territory is lost. But in terms of security guarantee, we're working with Europe on it. Europe would be a big part of that. And we're working on the security guarantee so the war doesn't start up again. We don't want to have a war start up again. You know, as I said, with Thailand and Cambodia, two people I get along with great. And I dealt with them, and I called them, and I said, look, fellas, you got to relax. You got to take it easy. They lost. You know, they started the war again, and I got it ended. And things like that are going to happen, war. There's nothing pretty about war, nothing good, and there's nothing you can do to predict what's going to happen. But I think we've made a lot of progress with respect to Russia and Ukraine, I hope. You know, last month, it was close to 27,000 soldiers were killed, mostly soldiers, but 27,000 people, but mostly soldiers were killed last month in Russia versus Ukraine.
Is there a time limit on security guarantees?
Well, there's no time limit. The time limit is whenever we get it done. I mean, we're going to try to get it done. We're making progress. It's more difficult than anybody could have thought. I would have said that half of the wars that I got settled, some were going for over 30 years, that half of them should have been more difficult, and they actually haven't been. There's a lot of dislike between the two leaders, you know that, and so it probably makes it a little bit tough.
Have you spoken directly to Putin? Have you recently spoken directly to Putin?
Yeah, I have.
On Syria, Mr. President, on the U.S. troops killed in Syria over the weekend, why do we have troops in Syria?
Because we're trying to make sure that there's going to be and remain peace in the Middle East, and Syria is a big part of it. The new leader is a strong person, and that's what you need. This is a rough part of the world, and it's been amazing what's taken place in Syria. We got rid of Assad, we got rid of other people that were really bad people, and that were in the way of peace in the Middle East. You know, we have legitimate peace in the Middle East, first time in 3,000 years. And we have 59 countries backing it. And we'll see what happens with Hamas. We'll see what happens with Hezbollah. But regardless, I mean, we have countries that want to go in and clean that out if we want them to do it. But they said, in the case of Hamas, they said that they're going to disarm, and we're going to find out whether or not that's true. Hezbollah in Lebanon has been a problem. We'll see what happens there. But there is legitimate large-scale peace in the Middle East. And if there weren't, we wouldn't have been able to make all of those deals that we've made with the various countries. They would have never been able to do that. If, for instance, if we didn't, with that B-2 bomber right there on the desk, if we didn't, of which we just ordered a lot more of the newer version, totally stealth. They could not see it. They knew it was coming. They had no idea where it was. It was pretty amazing, actually. Every bomb hit its mark perfectly, despite CNN trying to say differently. They didn't know. They just, hoped. They hoped that we didn't, but it turned out that they did. Atomic Energy Commission confirmed it. So did Iran confirm it. They got knocked to hell. But if we didn't knock out their nuclear capability, we would have never had peace in the Middle East, because you would have had a dark cloud hanging over Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and all the other countries, and they would have never, ever been able to sign an agreement. Yeah, please.
How soon do you expect that international stabilization force to be up and running in Gaza?
I think that it's, in a form, it's already running. In a very strong form, it's already. But it'll get stronger and stronger, and more countries are coming into it. They're already in, but they'll send any number of troops that I ask them to send. They want to see peace. We have more than 59 countries. We have many countries that aren't even in the Middle East, but they're fairly close to the Middle East. They want to be involved. So it's been pretty amazing.
Mr. President, this week a man named Keone Rodriguez is going to federal prison for creating crypto privacy software. The case was started under the Biden administration, but your DOJ kept it going and secured the conviction. A lot of people in crypto are saying that this man should be pardoned. Are you familiar with the case at all, or would you be interested
I've
in
heard
looking
about
at
it. I'll look at it. Why, you think he should be pardoned? Sounds like it. Sounds like, based on your question.
Many people in the
Rodriguez, we'll look at that, Pam. Okay, let's take a look at it. You know, you'll have to tell me. I don't know anything about it, but we'll take a look.
On Friday,
Yeah, please.
Mr. President, market analysts are calling for a Santa rally. Typically, it's 5 trading days going into Christmas. You know, in the first 2 trading days in January, that's a sign of market optimism. Do you anticipate, along with the historical low gas prices, that continuing into the first quarter?
Well, we've had the greatest stock market in history, Brian. We have a stock market that's gone up 52 times to new highs during a 10-month period, my 10 months. You know, my first 10 months, we set a record. 52 days, we had the highest stock market in history, including a day ago. And I didn't look today. Maybe it's up today, I don't know. But we had 52 altogether, and there's never been anything like it. And the reason are the tariffs have brought vast amounts of wealth into our country, that countries that have taken our car companies, those car companies are all coming back. The AI is coming at levels that nobody's ever seen before. That's going to be a massive industry. Without the tariffs, we wouldn't have that. Chips are coming in. The chip companies are coming in from Taiwan and other places, but mostly from Taiwan, which has almost 100% of the market. And we're now making chips. And we're not paying anything. It's not the CHIPS Act where they give billions of dollars to companies and then they just take the money and they run. That was under Biden. The fact that I set tariffs up and that if they don't make their chips here, they have to pay a big tariff. In order to send them into the U.S., they have to be here. You know, tariffs really work, in my opinion, almost only in the United States. They've been used against us successfully because we had presidents that had no clue. But tariffs really work. We have taken in hundreds of billions of dollars with tariffs, and more importantly, we've taken in countries and companies where, and even countries have sent their car-making people into the United States in order to avoid paying tariffs. And they'll build a plant and they'll hire our people to make the cars. But we now have, as you know, Toyota just approved $10 billion in manufacturing plants in the United States using our people. Without tariffs, none of that would have happened. Tariffs have given us great national security. There's nothing like what's happened in the last 10 months. Tariffs have given us tremendous national security and tremendous wealth. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, press. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thanks for calling. Okay, you guys can grab everything. And you can grab everything. Thank you. Stay back.
And the White House releasing a closed border equals a safer America. Since President Trump took office, there have been more than 600,000 arrests of illegal aliens, a historic record. Over 2.5 million illegal aliens have left the country, and for 7 consecutive months, Border Patrol has released 0 illegal aliens into the United States. Thank you for joining us on a very busy Monday in the news cycle. We'll be breaking down and watching all of these stories, many that are tragic here at home and around the world, as President Trump participated in the Mexican Border Defense Medal presentation, a high honor, and as Secretary of War Pete Hegseth stating that this commendation medal, having been awarded since 1918 and the end of World War I, and something that is being brought back to our security patrols, Border Patrol, and also our military, who have done an exquisite job on the border and earning the high praise of President Trump, with Stephen Miller in the Oval and Attorney General Pam Bondi on hand as well, with our colleagues there throughout the White House press pool. For all updates for America First, the MAGA movement, and everything happening inside and outside of the Beltway, you can subscribe to rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. And make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss a minute of the action. We also have incredible authors, journalists, op-ed, and the written word for you to dive into countless topics as we saw a very sad weekend of violence here in America, in Australia, and throughout the world. And during this time of togetherness, we pray for harmony and peace first and foremost. But we'll be right on top of these stories for you here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Again, all America First updates and exclusive offers at rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. For all of my colleagues here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, may you have a blessed Monday, and we'll see you again very soon.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First news. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.